Hello Warhammer Explorers. Before we dive in, hit subscribe so the next transmission isn't lost to the warp. Every click tells me to keep building this universe with you. What if the Shredder entered Warhammer 40K? Oroku Saki, the Shredder, stands alone in the broken heart of the Technodrome and studies the stolen Krang portal core. On its screen, he sees a far galaxy locked in endless holy war, where every city is a fortress and every night is lit by fire. A world that understands strength, he says, and he feeds the device mutagen, alien tech, and his own blood to lock the coordinates. The core screams as it drinks too deep, and for a moment his armor and bones feel like they are being peeled apart. The portal tears open in a flood of violet and sickly gold light, and Shredder steps through as the breach drags him into Warhammer 40,000. The sky above Sanctis Ferrum splits. Hive Gethsemar, a city of 1 billion stacked in metal towers, stops to stare. Smog-choked clouds rip away as a wound of purple and sick yellow opens over the highest spire. Vox towers crackle. Sirens howl. People on rusted balconies clutch railings as they look up and see the heavens boiling. In a hab block, a girl named Mara presses her face to a cracked window. Her mother yanks her back and shouts about getting below. The light from the sky pane cuts through the dust and paints the room in colors that do not exist in any normal day. High above, inside a command bastion of stone and steel, a dozen hollow screens burn bright. Target runes scramble. Data streams blur. Auspex officers shout numbers. Unscheduled warp breach over Primus Spire, one calls. His voice shakes. No ship signature, no re-entry track. It's just there. Governor Hale, ruler of Sanctis Ferrum, grips the rail. His uniform is tight, green, and marked with golden aquilus, the double-headed eagle of the Imperium. Sweat runs down his neck. Beside him stands a tall woman in black carapace armor, a stylized eye sigil at her collar. Her eyes are cold, her hands steady. Inquisitor Selene Varro, church agent and hunter of heresy, stares at the rip in the sky and does not move. Warp phenomenon without a vessel, she says. Her voice is low and sharp. That is not natural. Focus picked feeds on the breach. Now. Outside thunder rolls with no clouds, only raw warp light. Something falls out of the wound. At first it is just a dark speck against the glare. Then it grows. It is a man, but larger than any man Mara has seen. Armor plates wrap his body in jagged silver. Spikes jut from his shoulders and forearms. A steel mask hides his face, and a dark cape whips in the screaming wind. He does not tumble. He aims his fall like a weapon. Shredder drops through burning air, every system in his armor screaming from the stress. His bones ache from the warp's pull. The Krang core, now fused in a harness at his back, glows a dull, angry red. Different stars, different rules, he thinks. But strength is strength. The spires race up to meet him. Below, on one of the mid-hive causeways that ring Gethsemar, chaos has already started. Traitor, guardsmen, once Imperial soldiers, now wearing spiked armor and crude symbols of dark gods, pour fire into crowds. Their laser guns spit red beams that cut through flesh. People fall and do not get back up. A twisted preacher screams praises to shapes in the storm. Behind them, a hulking mutant with too many arms swings a chain whip through a group of workers. Bones snap. Vox messages babble about rioting, about a cult, about the storm finally opening. No one sees the falling shadow until it is almost on top of them. Shredder slams into the causeway like a meteor. The impact blasts a shockwave of broken plasteel and dust in all directions. The closest traitors are flung from the bridge, screaming as they vanish into the foggy depths of the hive. He rises from a crater, cape torn, armor scorched, but still tall and terrible. Traitor guardsmen snap their guns up. Lars beams slash through the dust and spark off his armor. One hits the edge of his mask and burns a glowing scar across it. Another hits his chest plate and makes his ribs throb. Shredder moves. He is a blur of steel and purpose. He crosses the distance between him and the nearest traitor in less than a heartbeat. His gauntlet blades punch through armor, bone, and the rusted rail behind the man. He twists once and rips free. Another traitor fires from the hip. Shredder drops low, slides under the beam, and sweeps the man's legs from under him. He drives his bladed fist down. The causeway shakes with the impact. The mutant beast roars and charges. Its arms are thick with chain and muscle. Its skin is marked with glowing runes. It swings the chain whip again, tearing chunks from the floor. Shredder steps in, not back. The chain lashes toward his throat. He catches it between his armored hands. The metal bites into his palms, even through the gauntlets. He grunts. The beast pulls, trying to drag him off his feet. Pathetic, Shredder says. He jerks the chain, pulls the monster off balance, and darts in under its guard. His blades flash, carving through tendons, tendrils, and runes. The mutant crashes to its knees, howling. Shredder leaps, brings both sets of claws down, and drives them into the thing's skull. The cry ends in a wet crack. Warp light leaks from its eyes and mouth, then flickers out. Codex note. Unidentified bladed warlord demonstrates movement and killing speed beyond human norms. Provisional classification: Xenos or warp-born combatant of extreme threat level. Shredder pulls his blades free and looks around. The survivors on the causeway stare at him. Their faces are dirty, thin, and stunned. Some wear worker overalls. Some still hold their children. All of them are covered in someone else's blood. Mara peeks from behind her mother's arm and sees the steel mask turn toward her. For a moment, she thinks he will kill them too. That is what monsters do in her city. They hurt everyone. He does not. "Get below," Shredder says. His voice is deep and harsh, but clear. You are useless in the open. They do not understand his words, but they understand his gesture when he points to a nearby access hatch and then to the corpses. The mother nods again and again. She pulls Mara and runs. Others follow. They stumble through the hatch as fast as they can. A last beam snaps past his head and blasts a smoking hole in the wall. Shredder looks up. Across the causeway, more traitors have set up a heavy weapon. A heavy bolter, a bulky gun that spits fist-sized explosive shells, rises on a tripod. Its loader slams a drum into place. "Target that thing," he hears one shout. "The warp delivered him, but he is not ours." The gun roars. Shells scream toward him, each one a small missile. The first detonates close enough to throw him sideways. Armor plates ring. His ribs feel like they crack. The second hits his left shoulder and explodes. His pauldron is torn away in a burst of sparks and torn metal. He rolls behind a broken transport hull and breathes hard. The air tastes like burned copper and smoke. His body aches from the portal and the impact, and now from the gun. He could leave. The Krang core hums at his back. He knows, with the sense of a master of stolen tech, that he could trigger a short jump. Not far, not over galaxies again, but enough to escape this kill zone. He looks at the access hatch where the civilians fled. The hatch is thin. The heavy bolter rounds will tear through it like paper. If they die, I rule nothing, he thinks. Order needs bodies to kneel. He steps out from cover and charges straight at the gun. The next shell explodes near his feet and hurls him forward, but he turns the fall into a roll. Shards of metal slice into the gaps in his armor. Fresh blood runs down his side. He comes out of the roll already in the air, leaping. The trader's eyes go wide. He lands on the heavy weapon, crushing it and its gunner to the deck. His claws flash, shredding the loader's throat. He turns, grabs the final guardsman by the chest plate, and hurls him over the side. The man's scream fades into the hive's endless depths. Shredder stands over the ruined gun, chests heaving. His armor is dented and burned. His muscles shake from exertion and from the warp's hangover. The sky wound above him starts to close, leaving only a smear of sick yellow light like a scar. He looks up at this new world and makes a choice. This place is built on fear, he says softly. I will master it. Far above, the command bastion watches. Magnify, Inquisitor Varro orders. The pict feed zooms in. The image shakes but holds. They see the spiked warrior standing on a pile of dead traitors, his cape torn, his armor bleeding sparks and smoke. Not a demon, Governor Hale mutters. Too solid, not on any file, not ours. Everything that steps from the warp is suspect, Varro says. Demon, Xeno, witch, or all three. She studies the way he fought, the way he protected the civilians by killing the heavy gun, the way he looked up at the closing tear. He made a choice, she says. He did not run. Then we thank him and lock him in a cell, Hale says. Or better, we turn him on the enemy. This city is not holding. The cults rise in the lower hives. The Astra Militarum are already stretched thin. On a side screen, reports scroll by. The Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard, are the normal human soldiers of the Imperium. They are dying in droves. Varro's lips press thin. Send a company of Gethsemar rifles to secure the site, she says, and request an Astartes squad. I want the Sable Warden's eyes on this. The Space Marines, Hale asks, surprised. The Emperor's Angels of Death, Varro says. Giant super soldiers in power armor. If this thing is a new weapon, they will see it. If it is a threat, they will kill it. Vox officers relay orders. Somewhere in orbit, a strike cruiser stirs. In a fortress monastery on the far side of the planet, warriors in black and bone armor rise from prayer and head to the armory. On the ruined causeway, Shredder limps forward. His left arm is numb from the blast. Fractures ache in his ribs with every breath. The Crancor's glow has faded to a faint ember. It needs more power. He has none to spare. He stops beside the access hatch and listens. Muffled sobs, the hiss of scared breathing. He imagines the faces pressed against the door. He could rip the hatch open and use fear to bind them to him. He could drag them out as human shields or new Foot Clan. That is what he would have done in New York. He leaves the hatch closed and moves on. What has changed? He asks himself. He looks at the sky, at the endless towers, at the smoke that hides how many live and die here each day. The scale, he answers. This city alone holds more than any world I have known. 1 million clans, 1 billion blades. If I rule here... He stops when he hears the rumble. Something heavy is coming up the causeway from the far end. Tracks grind on plasteel, engines roar. He waits, balanced, every sense alert. A boxy vehicle painted in dull green grinds into view. Its hull is covered in bolts and crude plates. A heavy gun sits on top. Soldiers march around it in flak armor, laser guns ready. Their helmets bear the sigil of the Gethsemar rifles. Behind the tank ride warriors in black and bone plate armor. They are immense, towering over the guardsmen. Each one is a moving statue, a shrine of guns and swords and purity seals. Space Marines. Adeptus Astartes, the Emperor's chosen killers. One steps forward. His armor bears a white skull on his left shoulder and a stylized sable shield on his right. His helmet has a red crest. His bolter, a gun that fires small rockets, is held at ease but ready. "Target acquired," comes his voice from a speaker. It is deep and full of iron. Unknown war form. Standing on traitor dead. No visible mutant growths. His helmet hisses as it unlocks. He takes it off, revealing a scarred, stern human face with eyes like chips of rock. "I am Captain Solon of the Sable Wardens," he says. "By the Emperor's will, this world is under our watch." Shredder studies him. These warriors are taller than even his armored form. Their armor is thicker than his own. Their weapons glow with a quiet promise of murder. "Impressive," Shredder says. "You might survive a first strike." The guardsmen tense and raise their guns. The tank turret whines as it turns slightly toward him. Captain Solon raises a hand. The guns lower, but not all the way. "You emerged from a warp breach," Solon says. "You killed traitors of the Chaos cult. You spared civilians. Why?" "Because they were mine to use," Shredder says. He does not pretend to be gentle. Dead tools are useless. Solon's eyes narrow. "There are easier ways to take slaves," he says. "Yet you bled to protect them from that heavy weapon." Shredder shrugs. The motion makes pain stab his side. "I am not wasteful," he says. "Strength must be directed." A new voice crackles from Solon's vox bead. "Captain," Inquisitor Varro says, "hold the target. I am en route with the governor. Do not engage unless it shows clear warp taint." Solon clicks his tongue in annoyance, but nods. "Understood, Inquisitor," he says. He looks back at Shredder. "You will come with us. We will speak in a safer place." "I do not take orders," Shredder replies. Solon smiles, but it is not kind. "In this Imperium," he says, "everyone takes orders. Even I, even the governor, even the Inquisitor. Only one does not, and you are not him." He lifts his bolter just a fraction. "Walk," he says, "or be carried in pieces." Shredder looks around. He counts 20 guardsmen with laser guns, 2 with flamers, 1 with a rocket launcher. The tank's heavy stubber tracks him. The Marine's bolters are made to kill things far tougher than him. He could still escape. The Krang core hums faintly, enough for a short jump, but it feels wrong, like a rotten tooth. The warp here is thick and angry. If he tears a hole again so soon, something else might come through, or it might rip him apart. Besides, these soldiers are tools. Power. He nods and steps toward them. "I will speak," he says, "and then we will see who gives orders." They bring him to a command bastion dug into the side of the hive. The interior is all harsh light and cold stone. Aquila banners hang from the walls. Servo skulls, floating metal skulls with lenses and wires, buzz overhead, recording everything. Shredder's armor leaves a faint trail of oil and blood on the floor. His wounds ache, but he refuses aid. Let them see that he does not show weakness. In a central chamber, Governor Hale waits at a long table covered in tactical screens. Inquisitor Varro stands to one side, hands folded, a small robed acolyte at her shoulder. Solon leads Shredder in, and then stands at his back, close enough to shoot him in the spine if needed. "You stand in the heart of Gethsemar Command," Hale says. "Whoever you are, know that this world belongs to the Emperor of mankind. State your name and allegiance." "Names are for those under me," Shredder says. Then, after a moment, he gives it anyway. He understands symbols. "I am Oroku Saki. I am called the Shredder. I serve no one." Varro tilts her head. "Your accent is strange," she says. "Your armor is unlike any pattern in our archives. You came from the warp without a ship. That is impossible. She walks around him once, studying the lines of his armor, the cranial mask, the blades. Remove your helmet, she says. Shredder's claws twitch. No one orders him to unmask. No one. This mask is the face of my rule, he says. You have no right to see what is behind it. Varro smiles, but it does not reach her eyes. I am Inquisitor Selene Varro of the Ordo Hereticus, she says. I hunt witches, traitors, and demons. I burn worlds when the Emperor commands. If I wish to see your face, I will cut it off. Power hums under her words. The room seems to lean toward her for a second. Shredder feels a faint pressure at the edge of his mind, like fingers testing the surface of glass. A psychic probe. He has resisted mind tricks before, from aliens and mutagens. This one is stronger. He plants his feet and pushes back. Varro's eyes widen just a fraction. The pressure breaks. A nosebleed runs down the side of her face. Solan's hand tightens on his bolter. Enough, the Space Marine says. If he were a demon, we would be dead by now. If he were a witch, your mind would be ash. Varro wipes the blood away. He is something, she says. Something with a will sharp enough to cut warped flesh. That makes him dangerous. Everything useful is dangerous, Hale says. He taps a screen. Look. Hollow projectors flicker on. The room fills with ghostly images. Maps of Sanctis Ferrum appear. Hive stacks, defense lines, orbital guns. Red icons bloom like sores across them. Chaos cults are rising in the lower levels, Hale says. Mutants, traitor guard, summoned beasts. They hit our Prometheum lines, water plants and shrines. We have held them in check. He zooms out. More red icons appear in orbit. But an hour ago, sensors picked up this. A fleet hangs over the world in miniature. Jagged ships with twisted prows and screaming faces. Their names in bad Gothic letters scroll under them. The children of the tearing choir, Varro says. Her voice hardens. A warband of Chaos Space Marines. They serve the dark gods. They kill for pleasure. They have broken 3 worlds along this route. One ship pulses with dark light. At their head is Lord Azrakar the Flensed, Varro continues. A champion of the Dark Prince, whose blade eats souls. He once turned an entire regiment into living instruments and played them for a week. Even Shredder feels a cold stir at that. He comes here now, Hale says. Our orbital batteries are strong, but their ships are warded by the warp. Our guard regiments are brave, but bleeding. Even with the Sable Wardens, we are outnumbered and outmatched. Solan's jaw tightens. We can hold the Hive for a time, he says. Strike hard, kill their leaders, break their cult. But we will pay in oceans of blood. And if Azrakar reaches the Spire Shrines, the whole city may fall to chaos. He looks at Shredder. You fell from the warp and killed a mutant beast with your hands, he says. You resisted an Inquisitor's gaze. You do not bend easily. Why are you here? To rule, Shredder says simply. I saw your war from my world. I came to take it. Hale barks a bitter laugh. You came to rule the Imperium, he asks. You and what army? Shredder turns his head slowly and looks at the hollow of Sanctis Ferrum, with its hives, its regiments, its defenses. Why build an army, he says, when someone has done it for you? Silence falls. Varro studies him. Solan weighs the words. You want power, Varro says at last. We need a blade that can cut what normal men cannot. Azrakar's warband fights with warp wards and pain rituals. Our tools fail against them. But you are outside, wrong in a different way. Use him? Hale asks. Under watch, Varro says. On a leash made of faith and guns. If he turns, we kill him. If he serves, we survive. Solon shakes his head, but slowly. I do not like allying with a warp-born unknown, he says, but I like losing this world less. He steps closer to Shredder. In this war, Solon says, strength is not enough. It must be aimed in the Emperor's name. Can you fight under a banner that is not your own? Shredder thinks. In New York, he would have killed these men for daring to demand this. Here, the scale is different. The enemy is not turtles and street gangs. It is gods that twist whole worlds. He thinks of the Krang core at his back, burned and weak. He thinks of the warp wound in the sky and the pain it caused. He cannot open that door again lightly. He's trapped here, at least for now. To rule this place, he must live through its storms. For now, he says, I will aim my strength where it suits me. Your enemy, Azrakar, offends me. He plays with his victims. He wastes them. I despise waste. Varro's lips curve. Pragmatic, she says. Good. She draws a small metal symbol from her belt, an Aquila skull. She holds it up. By this seal, I name you a sanctioned asset of the Ordo Hereticus, she says. A hunter of heretics, on probation. You will fight where I point. You will not spread your own cult. You will not open the warp. Shredder meets her eyes. I answer to myself, he says. Remember that. And I answer to the Emperor, she replies, which outranks you. She turns to Hale. Governor, prepare a war council, she says. We must decide how to deploy this Shredder. Sirens flare louder. A Vox officer stumbles into the room, eyes wide. Lord Governor, he pants. Inquisitor, new contact. The tearing choir have launched drop pods, thousands. They are coming straight for Gethsemar. The holomap updates. Thin lines streak from the Chaos ships to the Hive. Their impact points bloom red around the spire. They are not softening us, Solon mutters. They mean to break our back at once. Standard counters will not be enough. Varro looks at Shredder. You wanted a world to test your strength, she says. You have found it. Shredder looks at the falling icons. Each one is a burning prison full of killers. The scale of it makes his heart beat faster. This is no petty turf war, he thinks. This is a storm fit for a true ruler. He feels the scar across his mask throb. The Krang core at his back pulses once, hungry for warp contact and afraid of it. He smiles behind the steel. Then let them come, he says. Show me your worst. Up to now, Shredder has torn his way into a new galaxy, fought Chaos cultists to save his own interests, met the rulers of a Hive world, and seen that a much greater enemy is falling from the sky toward them all. The first drop pods fall like red comets. They burn through the haze over Hive Gethsemar, thick metal shells wrapped in fire. Vox channels crackle with impact estimates and prayers. Civilians crowd lower windows and see streaks of light falling toward them like judgment. On the command screens, dozens of icons bloom around the Hive. They are not aiming for the outer wastes, Governor Hale says. They are hitting us where we live. Shrines, guard barracks, Prometheum plants, Captain Solon says. His armored finger taps each impact point. They mean to choke our fuel and faith in one stroke. Up to now, Shredder has been a strange weapon on their table. Now, he must prove he is worth the risk. Inquisitor Varro looks at one red icon, pulsing near the Hive's main Prometheum stacks. This one, she says. If they destroy that plant, the guard will have no fuel. Tanks will die in place. Guns will fall silent. Then they will be cut down, Solon says. We can dispatch a half company of Sabal wardens. 2 squads of Astartes are enough to... No, Hale cuts in. Our citizens work those stacks. My people. We must hold. He glances at Shredder. And we have something the enemy has not seen, he says. Shredder studies the map. The Promethean plant is a maze of pipes and tanks, a nightmare of fire if hit wrong. You cannot bombard it, he says. You will burn your own city. Correct, Varro says. We must fight inside it, with care. Care is not the way of Azrakar's cult, Solon says. They will burn, poison, and enslave. They do not think of collateral. Then they will be sloppy, Shredder says. His eyes narrow behind the mask. Sloppy enemies die. Send me there. Solon's gaze hardens. You seek a field to show off, he says. I seek a field where your size is a weakness, Shredder replies. Your warriors are strong, slow, and loud. In close pipes and tanks, they will be clumsy. I am not. Varro considers this. She looks again at the map. The plant is a vertical maze of narrow catwalks and storage towers full of flammable liquid. One Astartes squad, she says at last. You lead the vanguard. They hold the main chokes. The guards set outer lines and medici stations. Governor? Hale nods, jaw tight. Agreed, he says. If you fail, Shredder, I will order that plant destroyed rather than see it in enemy hands. Do you understand? Shredder's blades flex at his sides. If I fail, he says, you will already be dead. The air above Promethean plant Delta 3 is thick with smoke and prayer chant. The plant rises from the side of the hive like a forest of metal trees. Cylinders of fuel stretch up into the clouds. Pipes snake between them, hissing, rattling. Catwalks crisscross the space like spiderwebs. Sirens howl. On the ground level, Gethsemar rifles form firing lines around the main entrances. Their uniforms are already stained with soot. Tech priests in red robes drag cables and chant machine prayers to keep the pumps running. The first Chaos drop pods hit like meteors. They smash into the upper levels, embedding themselves in tank sides and catwalks. Their doors explode outward. Armored giants step out, wearing twisted power armor painted in screaming pinks, purples, and flayed flesh. Chaos Space Marines, noise marines of the Dark Prince. Their armor is wrapped in speakers and pipes. Their guns look like musical instruments turned into torture devices. Where their boots land, people go mad. Shredder rides toward the plant on the back of a Chimera transport, standing in the top hatch. Wind whips his torn cape. The Krang core at his back hums weakly, like a sick heart. Beside him, inside a Rhino troop carrier, a squad of Sable Wardens brace. Their leader, Brother Sergeant Ikron, Vox voices a simple plan. Rhino rams main gate, Ikron says. We disembark and hold Central Junction. Unknown asset Shredder advances ahead and flanks, kills leaders. Guard hold perimeter. We do not let the plant fall. Unknown asset, Shredder repeats to himself. I will change that. The convoy slams through smoke and scattered civilians. Guardsmen wave and shout. Some make the sign of the Aquila. Some whisper when they see the steel mask riding in their midst. At the plant gate, a blast of warp-charged sound hits them. It is not just noise, it is pressure. It punches through armor and bone. Shredder's vision goes white for an instant. The Rhino swerves. The Chimera's tracks bite deep to stay, upright. A building near the gate explodes outward, not from fire, but from vibration. Bricks leap from the walls. Metal beams twist and snap. People inside scream as their bones crack under unseen force. On a high catwalk, a Chaos Marine stands, his guitar-like sonic blaster glowing. He rakes it again. A wave of sound smashes into the guard lines. Men clutch their ears. Blood runs from noses and eyes. Shredder drops into the Chimera's hatch as a follow-up blast shatters the vehicle's pintle gun. Shards of metal rain down. Their weapons strike through cover, he thinks. Sound, vibration, frequency. He thinks of Rocksteady and Bebop's crude sonic gear back home. This is that, refined into horror. Move, the Chimera driver yells. Gate ahead. The transport bursts through the ruined gate. Chaos cultists flood the yard, twisted workers with flensed skin and makeshift blades. Behind them, lesser marines in spiked armor raise bolters. Shredder does not wait for the vehicle to stop. He vaults from the hatch, lands in a roll, and charges straight into the cultists. His blades slash, but he does not go for big showy cuts. He goes for tendons, grips, and weapon hands. He disarms two at once, kicks a third into a fuel line but pulls him back before his torch can touch it. Do not fire flamers near tanks, he snarls in the local tongue. He has heard enough now to mimic some words. The guardsmen behind him understand the gesture and the tone. They redirect their flamers to open ground, away from the main stacks. He uses the cultists' bodies as shields when the first bolter rounds fall. Explosive shells tear their backs apart. Shrapnel stings his mask. A noise marine drops from a higher platform, landing in front of him. Close up, its armor is a mess of faces, speakers, and those cursed pipes. It swings a jagged chainsword, its teeth singing. Shredder ducks back. The sword screeches off his chest plate, cutting a line but not penetrating. The sound makes his teeth ache. The marine laughs, vox distorted and high. Little warp gift, it sings. You dance well, dance in pieces. It fires its sonic blaster at point-blank range. Shredder sees the muzzle flash and throws himself aside. The blast hits a fuel drum behind him. The surface ripples like water. The drum implodes, crushed by its own contents. Promethium blasts out in a flat sheet of burning rain. Fire washes across the yard. Men scream as their coats ignite. Shredder feels heat bite his exposed side. He tucks and rolls, smothering the flames. His lungs burn. If this plant goes, he thinks, the city lines fail. The world dies. He rises and charges the noise marine again. This time he does not go straight. He zigzags, using wreckage and smoke to break line of sight. He targets the speakers on his chest. Bolter rounds crater the ground at his feet. A stray sonic wave brushes his shoulder, and his arm goes numb for a heartbeat. He pushes through it. He slams into the marine and climbs. For a moment, he is wrapped around the giant like a metal insect. The sonic blaster fires wild into the sky as he drives his claws into the speaker grid and yanks. Wires tear. Plates rip free. The sound weapon on its chest dies with a frustrated howl. The noise marine roars and tries to grab him. Shredder lets go and drops, but not straight down. He hooks a hand on its gorget and swings behind it. He drives both sets of claws into the soft joins of its armor at the back of the neck and under the arm. He feels something give. Hot, stinking blood sprays his arms. The marine staggers, swings blind, and falls to its knees. Shredder plants a foot on its back and tears his claws free in a ripping motion that cuts cables, tendons, and spine. The marine collapses, twitching. Too loud, Shredder says. Guardsmen cheer hoarsely. Their line surges forward, inspired. They fire more carefully now, aiming for Chaos Marine's gear, not just bodies. Tech priests chant louder, keeping the pumps and safety steady even as the ground shakes. Codex note: sonic weaponry of the noise marines can bypass most cover, but targeted strikes against amplifiers and cable clusters can drastically reduce their battlefield impact. Brother Sergeant Icaron's Rhino slams into a secondary gate and disgorges the Sable Wardens. They move like a tide of blackened bone. Bolters roar, spitting explosive shells that turn cultists into red mist. One Marine hefts a heavy flamer and washes a horde of lesser mutants with burning promethium. But he angles the stream up, away from the main tanks, painting only the upper walkways. Advance by squads, Ikron booms. Protect the plant. Kill anything that sings in the enemy's tongue. Shredder does not wait for them. He dives into the maze of inner catwalks, climbing ladders 3 at a time, leaping gaps without looking down. His armor is heavy, but his training makes it an extension of his body. He moves with the speed of a much lighter man. Above, more noise marines are setting up positions. Some attach strange amplifiers to fuel tank walls. Others drag civilians, wiring them to machines that look like instruments made from pain and bone. If they trigger those devices, the whole plant might vibrate apart. Shredder lands on a narrow platform behind one such squad. He throws a dead cultist's body forward to draw their fire. Sonic blasts shred the corpse. While their weapons cycle, he moves. He kicks one Marine's knee sideways, twisting the joint. The giant falls, crashing into the rail. The platform shudders. Another tries to club him with a noise emitter staff. Shredder ducks, jams his claws into the gap between wrist and gauntlet, and twists. The staff falls. He kicks it clear. He fights without yelling, breath controlled. Every strike is trained, not wild. He aims for cables, joints, and triggers. He knocks one amplifier loose before it can bond to the tank and hurls it into open space. It falls and explodes mid-air, a bubble of sound and fire. The catwalk shakes again. A larger drop pod has embedded near the plant's central tower. Its doors hang open like a mouth. Inside, Shredder sees a set of strange metal frames and cables humming. His heart tightens. It is a warp resonance core, ugly and bright. It reminds him, in a twisted way, of the Krang portal device on his back. Different tech, same purpose. Open doors that should stay closed. He feels the Krang core stir. It pulses, drawn to the signal, hungry and afraid. If that activates, he thinks, the warp will flood this plant. The enemy will have a gate inside your fuel heart. He has to stop it. But to reach it, he must cross open ground watched by heavy sonic guns. He crouches behind a vent stack and thinks fast. Speed and strength alone will not work. He needs a distraction. He looks down at the maze of pipes under his feet. He sees pressure gauges, valve wheels, emergency vent lines. A plan forms. Your plant, he vox links, tying into the guard channel through a stolen bead. Can you vent non-fuel gas? There is a hiss of surprise on the other end. Who is this? A tech priest crackles. Identify. The one keeping you alive, Shredder snaps. Answer. Yes, the tech priest replies. Superheated steam and waste fumes. What do you intend? Unknown. Fog, Shredder says. And misfire. He gives them valve numbers and timings, learned from a fast glance. The tech priest hesitates for only a second, then starts chanting. Below, engines groan. Pipes rattle. A deep rumble moves through the plant. Superheated white steam explodes from a ring of vents around the central tower. It fills the space like a sudden storm. Vision drops to a few meters. Noise marines fire their sonic guns blind. Sound waves hit dense steam and refract. Some bounce back, shredding their own ranks. Others detonate early, their force spent. In the confusion, Shredder moves. He runs along the catwalk, leaps a gap he cannot see, and lands by feel. His claws bang off a metal column. He uses it to pivot and hurl himself toward the central drop pod. A blind blasting noise marine stumbles into his path, gun screaming. Shredder dives low, under the wave of sound. The pressure makes his ears ring, but the steam has softened it. He slams into the Marine's legs and cuts them out from under him. The giant falls, weapon spinning away. Shredder rolls, comes up inside the open pod. The warp resonance core thrums before him, a cage of metal and demonic light. Chains of flesh hang from its sides, ending in screaming faces that are not fully real. Symbols of the Dark Prince pulse on its frame. The Krang core on his back vibrates hard, almost in panic. Streams of data flicker across his armor's inner displays, half in Krang script, half in warped machine tongue. The two devices are calling to each other. If they sync, he thinks, they will tear a hole in this place, one I cannot close. He must shut it down, but he does not know this exact tech. If he just slashes it apart, it might explode and dump warp fire into the plant. He thinks of Donatello back in his old world. The turtle scientist would have laughed and pulled out tools. Shredder has only claws and stolen Krang knowledge. Then I use what I have, he tells himself. He pulls the Krang core harness off his back and slams it down onto the Chaos device like a parasitic shell. The two machines shriek in different tones. The air inside the pod bends. Every hair on his body stands on end. Symbols flare. Shredder jams his claws into the Krang core's control veins. He feels a familiar burn in his nerves as alien code floods his mind. He has done this before to force the portal to obey him. It always has a price. He forces the Krang core into a feedback loop, telling it that the Chaos device is a gate already closing, not opening. He lies to a machine that talks to insanity. For a moment, space itself seems to not. The resonance core's demonic faces scream. Light stabs out, then implodes. The machine collapses in on itself with a sound like a reversed chord. The Krang core goes dead silent. Then both devices explode, not outward, but inward, folding into a glowing, fist-sized knot of warped metal, then winking out of existence. Shredder stumbles back, gasping. His fingers smoke. His nerves feel flayed. His armor's systems all flicker and die for a heartbeat. When they come back, the Krang core's status is blank. He has killed his own gateway home. He looks at the scorched floor where the devices were. To rule this place, he thinks, I just burned my easiest escape. The steam begins to thin. The sounds of battle continue, but the edge of sonic fire is fading. Outside, the Sable Wardens push the remaining Chaos Marines back toward the plant's outer stacks. Guard squads reinforce choke points. Tech priests chant thanks to the machine god as gauges stabilize. Without the warp core, the enemy's plan to turn the plant into a rift fails. The Chaos Marines fight with spite and rage, but their center is broken. Ikron personally crushes a squad leader under his boot and chainsword. The rest fall back, dragging their dead and wounded where they can. After an hour of hard fighting, the plant still stands. Smoke rises from shattered outbuildings instead of from the main stacks. The ground is layered with bodies, mostly cultists, some guard, a few Marines on both sides. Medici teams move between the fallen. Mortars thunder in the distance, chasing the retreating Chaos forces into lower Hab levels. Shredder stands on a high catwalk and looks down at the mess he helped make. His armor is cracked. One gauntlet disc is half melted. Raw burns show where his flesh touched the warp devices. Inside, some of his ribs feel broken from the sonic blasts. He watches a Medici worker bend over a wounded guardsman and inject a Gvar stim. The soldier gasps and clutches the worker's hand like a child. There is no hatred in that grip, only terror and thanks. You saved this plant, Brother Sergeant Icaron's voice says behind him. Shredder does not turn at once. He keeps watching the workers, the wounded, the dead, I saved a tool, he says. Without fuel, your armies are nothing. Your city would fall, and I would rule ashes. Icaron steps up beside him. His armor is splashed with blood and oil. One of his purity seals is half burned. Motives are less important than results, the Marine says. In war, we use the weapons we have. Today, you were a weapon the Emperor chose to place in our hand. Shredder snorts softly. The Emperor did not build my core, he says. I did. Perhaps, Icaron replies. But without your action, that corrupted machine would have opened a gate. We would have been forced to destroy this plant. Many more would have died. Shredder does not answer. He feels the empty space at his back where the Krang core rode. He feels the ache in his nerves from forcing it to eat chaos code. He has lost something and gained a world that does not yet kneel. Your Medicae, he says instead. They should move faster. Some of your wounded are dying who could be saved. Their blood pools before help reaches them. You think we do not see that? Icaron asks. We have too few Medicae and too many wounds. This is the Imperium, Shredder. We spend lives like bullets. Then you are bad accountants, Shredder says. He turns away from the sight and heads toward the extraction point. Behind his mask, his expression is unreadable even to himself. The War Council meets in a vaulted chamber above the plant. Saint statues look down from alcoves, chipped from shell strikes. The long table is scarred with old knife marks and new hollow projectors. Outside the windows, the smokestacks of Delta 3 rise, intact. Governor Hale stands at the head, uniform still soot-stained. Inquisitor Varro is to his left, robes and armor cleaned but with a faint mark of dried blood at her nose. Captain Solon takes the other side, helmet at his belt. Around them stand officers of the Gethsemar rifles, a tech priest with mechadendrites coiled, and a thin, intense preacher of the ecclesiarchy in white and gold. Shredder leans against a pillar, arms folded, keeping distance but listening. Hollows show the plant's layout and the attack. Red paths trace chaos advances and where they were broken. The plant stands, Hale says. Fuel flows. Our tanks roll. That is the good news. The bad news, Varro says, is that this was a probing strike. Azrakar was testing our defenses and our unknown asset. He now knows we are willing to risk much to keep this place. The preacher slams his fist on the table. What matters is that heretics died, he says. The Emperor's wrath was swift. This stranger was an instrument of that wrath. He points at Shredder. Witnesses say you leaped into the maw of the enemy, tore their unclean machines apart, and saved many workers, he says. For that, you have my thanks, foreigner. Perhaps the Emperor's hand was on you. Varro's eyes narrow. Or perhaps he played with warp fire in a way we do not fully grasp, she says. He fused his own device with a chaos core. That is not a simple act. Tech heretical, some might say. The tech priest's mechadendrites twitch. Indeed, the priest clacks. Unblessed interfacing with Xenos and heretic tech is a grave sin against the Omnissiah. Yet, results are clear. Catastrophic detonation risk was neutralized. Solon looks from one to the other. Facts, he says. The plant stands. Casualties, while high, are unacceptable parameters for an assault of this scale. Unknown asset Shredder took wounds but did not break. He also lost his own device in the process. He turns his gaze to Shredder. You destroyed your way home to stop their gate, Solon says. That was not a selfish choice. Shredder shrugs, but the motion is tight. If this world dies, there is no one to rule, he says. Azrakar's device threatened my plans. I removed it. The preacher nods eagerly. See, he says. He understands that the Emperor's domain must stand. He understands that his future throne must stand, Varro counters. Do not rewrite his motives into piety. Hale rubs his forehead. This is the argument now, he asks, whether our Saviour's heart beat faster for us or for his own schemes. We do not have time for this. We must make time, Varro says, because how we use him will shape this war, and because corruption often walks in on useful legs. She turns fully to Shredder. You saved lives today, she says, deliberately. You warned our Medikid to move faster. Your plan with the venting steam spared many who would have died to enemy fire. Why? Shredder meets her gaze. I do not like waste, he repeats. Dead soldiers cannot fight. Fearful civilians work less hard. Efficiency is power. That is one answer, Varro says. There is another. Perhaps you saw those workers as more than tools, as people. The preacher smiles, hopeful. Compassion is a holy flame, he says. It may be the Emperor's light in him. Shredder's voice goes cold. Do not put your God's hand on my shoulder, he says. I know what people are. Weak, greedy. They betray you for crumbs. But if you shape them with fear and reward, they can be made into something better. Order is a gift you force on chaos. Hale frowns. You talk about order, he says. So does the Imperium. But we see order in law and faith. You see it in your armor and blades. What happens when our ideas of order clash? Shredder steps away from the pillar and walks to the holotable. He taps the plant image. Tiny figures move, representing workers. You tell them the Emperor loves them, he says. You tell them they must obey or burn. They obey because they fear the burn. Fine, fear works. But you also crush every thought that does not fit your book. You kill anyone who tries to change a system that clearly bleeds you dry. You think we enjoy this? Hale snaps. Do you think I like sending boys from the Hab blocks to die against monsters? We do what we must to hold the line. And you never ask, Shredder says softly, if the line could be moved. The room stills. Varro's eyes flash. The line is drawn by the Emperor, she says, by his sacrifice and his laws. To move it is to invite chaos in. You do not know what lurks in the warp. You have seen only a glimpse. I know enough, Shredder says. I saw Azrakar's toys. I felt that core trying to tear my mind apart. Chaos is not freedom. It is madness. I do not want that. But you act like any change is the same as madness. That is weakness masquerading as faith. The preacher bristles. Mercy toward new ways is how heresy starts, he says. We must be harsh. Survival demands it. Hale shakes his head. Perhaps, he says, but there are costs to that harshness. When we execute men for minor doubt, when we burn a village because one man whispered to a demon, we breed more fear than loyalty. Sometimes I wonder if there is a better way, but wondering is dangerous in the Imperium. He gives Varro a sideways look. You are not careful with that wondering, she warns. Governor or not, your soul is not exempt from judgment. There, Shredder says. He points, not unkindly, but sharply. That is your flaw. You fear your own thoughts. You kill your brightest minds to keep your faith pure. And so you stagger from war to war, never winning, only surviving. Solan's voice cuts through the tension. And what is your way? He asks. You ruled in your own world. You fought heroes. You used fear. Did you win? Are you the unchallenged master of your city? Shredder pauses. Old images flicker in his mind. The turtles. Splinter. Times he almost seized everything, only to lose it at the last moment because of his pride or their stubborn hope. No, he admits. The word is like grinding glass. Not yet. Because your rule was built only on fear, Solan says. No faith, No shared story. Only your will. When you fell, your world did not keep going in your direction. It snapped back. That is not lasting order. That is a long hostage situation. Shredder's blades twitch. You cling to a corpse on a throne, he says, and call it a shared story. At least my rule was honest. Varro steps between them, hands raised. Enough, she says. Mercy versus survival. Freedom versus doctrine. We could debate until this hive falls. We do not have that time. Then what do? Hale asks. We have seen that he can be useful and that he is dangerous. We need to decide how far we trust him. We trust what we can see and bind, Varro says. We watch for signs of infection. We do not give him command of souls, only of targets. He fights where we point. We judge by results and by the corruption he does or does not spread. Shredder laughs quietly. You speak of corruption, he says. You mean anyone who makes your people question your way. I mean anyone who draws them toward chaos, she replies. Including you, if you are not careful. Pride is a road the Dark Prince likes to pave. She looks at Hale. I will not pretend I do not see the risk, she says. But the fact is, we are losing ground. Azrakar's cults spread faster than we can purge. Conventional tactics bleed us dry. We just saw that an unconventional mind, however tainted, can save a vital target. The tech priest nods, mechadendrites ticking. Data supports this, he says. Casualty projections without unknown asset intervention were extreme. With his input, losses were reduced by 37.3% from pre-engagement models. The preacher shudders. Numbers, he says. You talk about souls like cogs, but even I cannot deny the sight of those workers weeping in gratitude in the plant chapel. They see a savior in that mask. He looks at Shredder. You must not let that go to your head, he says. You are a tool, not a god. Leave gods to the Emperor. Shredder says nothing. He files the word savior away. It might be useful later. Before anyone can answer, an alarm vox screeches. Command, a voice shouts. This is Lower Hab Defense Line 4. We are under attack by something new. Not like the cultists. Not like the noise marines. Our guns do nothing. Varro slams a hand on the control. Report, she commands. What is your enemy? Static hisses, then a deep, warping sound like a song played backward. Hale screens flicker. Some die. Others show only spirals of light. The tech priest hisses binary curses. There is a mimetic intrusion on the Voxnet, he says. A hostile signal riding our channels. The voice from line 4 comes back, but it is distorted. Words overlap. Please twist into laughter. They're beautiful, they're terrible, they're inside the walls, inside my head, praise the... A wet tearing sound cuts him off. Then only that wrong music remains. Solon grabs his helmet. Noise Marines? He asks. Varro shakes her head slowly. No, she says. This is more focused. Someone is using our own Vox to rewrite minds. A mimetic hex. Shredder feels a chill that is not from the air. The wrong sound slithers into the room, faint but present. It curls around the edges of his thoughts. For a second, he wants to smile for no reason. He forces his mind to sharpen. What is this? He asks. The tech priest's mechadendrites stab into a console. Source trace engaged, he says in machine voice. Signal, origin, adjusting. Oh. The main holomap updates. A new icon appears, pulsing with sick purple and gold, near the lower hab levels. It is not a ship or a squad. It is tagged with an old, ugly name from the data vaults. Soundcaster daemon-engine, the tech priest says. Designation, Siren Node. A war machine that broadcasts corruption. It infects code and meat alike. Solon grimaces. Azrakar has deployed one of his pet horrors, he says. We have fought these before. They turn our own orders into lures. They make soldiers hear prayers as songs of the Dark Prince. Can your space marines not destroy it? Shredder asks. Solon nods slowly. Yes, he says, if we can get close. But the Siren Node eats discipline. It makes even Astarte stumble. Our power armor has filters, but its signal does not stop at ears. Varro looks at Shredder. You felt it a moment ago, she says. Did you not? He nods once. It tried to make me agree, he admits, to relax, to accept. I have felt mind tricks before. This one is subtle. It is more than subtle, Varro says. It teaches you in layers to want what it wants, to love your own chain. That is how the Dark Prince works. Pleasure as a weapon. It can turn our own strength against us. The preacher shivers. The flock is already weak, he says. They crave simple joys in the grim grey. This weapon will offer them colour. We could lose whole habs without a single bolt round fired. Shredder looks at the pulsing icon. So you have a foe that does not win by killing bodies, he says. It wins by rewriting minds, by using your own rules and hunger against you. Yes, Varro says. Then your normal punishment sticks and sermons will fail, he says. You cannot beat a song with a louder shout. You need something outside its pattern. Someone who has not been trained their whole life to obey your vox. He does not say someone like me, but it hangs in the air. Varro nods, eyes hard. This is the smarter foe, she says, the kind we feared, one that attacks not your armor, but your story. Inquisitor Varro speaks first. The Siren Node can hurt Shredder because it does not care about blades or armor. It sings at the part of him that loves control and victory. It offers him endless adoration if he kneels. That is a crack in any proud mind. Tech Priest Ferrus adds, his armor and former warp device are not sanctified by the Mechanicus. They have no machine spirits loyal to the Emperor. The Siren Node signal can crawl into them like rot into unwarded metal. Captain Solon thinks, he is strong-willed, yes, but so are we, and I have seen my own brothers slowed by these songs. If he trusts only his own will, the Node can twist that trust into a chain. Shredder himself understands grimly. This is a weapon aimed at belief. In my world, I bent belief with fear and lies. Here something tries to bend, mine. If I misjudge its touch once, it will own me. Up to now, Shredder has broken a chaos assault on the Promethean plant, destroyed his own way home to stop a warp gate, and shown both mercy and cruel logic. Now the enemy sends a weapon that attacks his mind instead of his armor. The briefing room feels smaller than before. The Siren Node signal still hums at the edge of hearing. It worms through the stone, through vox lines, through teeth. Someone has cut the main speakers, but faint echoes remain, enough to make hearts beat off rhythm. Lights dim to red as shielding fields rise around the chamber. Tech Priest Ferrus mutters binaric prayers. Servo skulls float in tight circles, jamming and counter-jamming. A new hollow floats over the table. It shows a twisted engine the size of a building. It has no clear front or back. Pipes and horns jut from it. Flesh is woven through metal in long, tense strings. Faces open and close along its sides like wounds. This is the Siren Node, Varro says. Her voice is steady, but her pupils are a little too wide. Azrakar used it to break the shrine world of Lyrian. It turned the main Basilica choir into a weapon. They sang until their throats tore and their souls burned. Hale swallows hard. How close is it? He asks. Ferrus taps runes with mechadendrites. Deep in lower hab levels, he says. near Vox Spire 7. It is anchoring itself to our communications grid. If it roots fully, every Vox on this world will carry its corruption. So we cut the grid, one guard officer says. Shut all Vox down. Fight blind and mute if we must. Ferrus shakes his head. Too late, he says. Partial infection already achieved, and total silence will cripple our defense. Artillery, air support, medici calls, gone. We will lose more that way than from the node itself. Solon studies the hollow image. What are its goals, he asks, beyond simple corruption? Varro points to several glowing nodes on the hollow. The Siren Node feeds on attention and emotion, she says. It wants people to listen, to watch, to crave. Every mind it hooks deepens its reach. Every squad it bends becomes a knife in our back. She switches the view. Now the map shows whole hab sectors, glowing in shades of pink and violet. Already, she says, Line 4 is gone. They are not dead. They are changed. Our sensors detect movement, but no friendly signals. If we send units in without shielding, they will join the choir. So we silence our own people, Hale asks. We send in deaf squads? We have tried that when fighting Slaanesh engines before, Solon says. Helmet sealed, Vox off. It slows the infection, but does not stop it. The node sings through armor, through skin, through memory. Shredder stares at the projected engine. He hears that faint wrong music under the silence. It reminds him of something. He realizes what it is. Karai, once his daughter in spirit, turned against him when another voice promised her a different path. The Krang, whispering. Splinter's teachings echoing. He lost her because someone else told a better story. The Siren Node is a machine built to tell stories in the worst way. What stops it? He asks. Has anyone killed one? Ferrus shudders with metal and flesh. Yes, he says, with great loss. On Lyrian, they sanctified an entire armoured regiment and drove it straight into the node's heart. Most of them turned their guns on themselves halfway. The rest reached the core and melted into it. Their faith burned brighter than the song. For a moment, it died. So did they. Solon nods. I lost brothers on Hecaton Field to another, he says. We charged it with a full company. It twisted our battle cries. Some of us began to laugh as we died. I remember vomiting inside my helmet while firing and not knowing if it was from fear or joy. He looks at Shredder. This is why standard counters fail, he said. Bravery helps it. Discipline feeds it. The more you focus, the more hooks it finds. And your faith? Shredder asks. Faith gives us a reason to stand in that noise, Solon says. But the node can warp even holy words. It turns litany into lust. We fight through it, not above it. Varro points a finger at Shredder. You are not tied to our stories, she says. You do not believe in the Emperor. You do not know our hymns or our Vox codes. That makes you off-key, harder for the node to play. Not immune, Shredder says. He remembers the moment it brushed him, the sense of joy and surrender that tried to bloom. It will still find my pride, my hunger. Yes, she says, it will offer you worship. It will paint you as a god emperor in your own mind. But you are used to wanting that. You have seen fake adoration before. You might spot the trap faster than my men, who think worship is always holy. Hale looks between them. So we send him in, he asks. Alone? Not alone, Solon says. He would be shredded by the node's guard. We send a shield of Astartes and chosen guard in with him as spearhead. We wrap them in null wards, silence fields, and whatever else Ferrus can cobble together in an hour. Ferrus mutters. Crude, the tech priest says, but possible. vox masks that scramble incoming sound, projectors that emit counter hymns. But nothing is perfect. There will be leakage. Shredder steps closer to the hollow. "What of Azrakar?" he asks. "He will not hide behind his machine forever." Varro zooms out. The Chaos Fleet still hangs in orbit, but more icons are falling toward the node's location. "A champion of the Dark Prince does not waste his best toy," she says. "He will go to watch its work. He may even walk into the hive to taste it. If we strike now, while the node is still connecting fully, we may draw him out." Solan's jaw tightens. "A face-to-face duel with Azrakar the Flensed," he says. "A chance to cut the head off this warband. We have wanted that for years." He meets Shredder's eyes. He is antagonist enough, Solan thinks. And if Shredder can stand against him, I will know what kind of blade we truly hold. Aloud, he says, "You wanted to test yourself against this galaxy. Lord Azrakar is the kind of monster it breeds. Stand against him, and I will call you warrior. Fall, and I bury you myself." Shredder feels his blood heat. In his own world, he has fought and lost to agile brothers with shells and simple weapons. Here, he can measure himself against a warlord who has broken planets. "Show me the path," he says. "I will walk it." Varro nods. "Very well," she says. "We strike fast, before the node roots deeper. This is not about heroics. This is about survival." She looks at everyone in the room. "The plan is simple," she says. "Shredder leads a strike force into the Siren Node's lair. Their goal, destroy or disable the engine and kill Azrakar if he appears. The guard holds the outer cordon. The Sable Wardens cut a path and stand as anchor when Shredder moves ahead." Hale raises a hand. "And if the node cannot be killed," he asks, "if it twists them mid-fight?" Varro's face is very calm. "Then we call for orbit," she says. "We have one cruiser with cyclonic torpedoes. We glass this hive level and everything above it. Sanctis Ferrum becomes a crippled city, but the world survives. Maybe." Hale closes his eyes. "How many would die?" he whispers. "Millions," Ferris says. "Perhaps tens. Collateral estimates are severe." Hale opens his eyes and looks at Shredder. "You see," he says, "when we talk about harsh choices, this is what we mean. Either a few thousand soldiers risk their souls in that song, or millions burn in righteous fire. The Imperium does not have soft options." Shredder holds his gaze. "I have made such choices," Shredder says. "Not on this scale, but I have sent men into death for the chance of victory. The truth is simple. You already know the answer. You will send us in, and if we fall, you will still call the fire." Hale nods once. "Yes," he says, "because there is no one else to make that call." Shredder turns away. "Then stop debating whether I am a monster," he says. "We have work to do." The lower hab levels of Hive Gethsemar are a maze of rust and darkness. Pipes drip, lights flicker. Makeshift shrines line the walls, some to the Emperor, some to strange faces. The air smells of damp, oil, and too many bodies for too little space. Tonight, it also smells of perfume and blood. The Siren Node has nested in a vast recycling dome. Once, it was filled with trash compactors and sewage processors. Now, all that has been pushed aside for the engine. It stands in the middle like a cancer, towering, pulsing, covered in stretched skin sheets and metal horns. Workers kneel around it in circles, humming broken songs. Their eyes glow faint violet. When they breathe out, sparkles of warp light float from their mouths. Guard squads in the outer tunnels try not to listen. They stand in tight ranks, guns ready, wearing crude earmuffs and vox masks. Chaplains walk between them, whispering simple phrases. Think of your families. Think of bread. Think of the Emperor's face. Do not listen to the song. Focus on my words. Still, some sway. Some tap their feet without knowing. Some never return from latrine breaks. Into this, Shredder marches. He wears his full armor, now patched with hasty repairs. Around his neck, Varro has hung a dull metal charm marked with a tiny aquila. It looks almost silly on his spiked plate. This is a ward against direct possession, she told him. It will not block temptation, but it may stop the worst hooks from sinking. He almost refused it. Then he thought of the Crankor, dead and gone because he played with the warp once already. He accepted the charm without comment. Beside him stomped the Sable Wardens. Captain Solon leads them, helmet on, eyes hidden. Each Astartes has extra purity seals on his armor, fresh prayers inked in haste. Sound-dampening rigs hum on their shoulder pads. Their vox links are set to tight beam only on a chant of simple numbers to stop the node from crawling in. Tech Priest Ferrus walks with them, servo harness heavy. His mechadendrites carry devices that flicker with counter music, streams of ugly binary tones meant to clash with the Siren Node. They reach the last corner before the dome. The air is thick here. Every breath is a little harder. Every sound is a little sweeter. Shredder feels a faint smile tug at his lips. He frowns and kills it. "What are you afraid of?" the music whispers. Too soft to be words, but still clear. "You have always wanted this. Followers on their knees. An enemy worthy of you. A stage." He grips the hilt of his claws. "My fear," he answers in his head, "is that you might be right." Solon makes a gesture. His Marines set up blocking positions. Guardsmen check their gear for the 10th time. Varro's face appears as a tiny floating icon on Shredder's visor. She's in a shielded room far away, but her voice comes through clear. "Remember," she says, "do not answer voices you hear in your mind. Do not make promises. If you feel yourself slipping, pull back. Your pride is your weak point. It can be turned." "I am not a child to be warned away from candy," he says. "No," she says. "You are a man who has spent his life chasing power. That makes you very tasty to the Dark Prince." The link cuts. Shielding increases. Solon checks his bolter, then gestures again. "On my mark," he says. "By the Emperor's will and our own. 3, 2, 1. They move. They charge into the dome as one. Shredder at the point, Astartes flanking him, Ferrus and his machines behind. The Siren Node greets them with a rising chord. There is no air for a second, only sound. The world flickers between colors. Shredder sees the dome, then a vision of another place layered over it. In the vision, the recycling dome is a throne room. The Siren Node is gone. In its place is a tall seat of silver and bone. At its base kneel hundreds of figures in smooth, polished armor shaped like Foot Clan gear. Their masks all copy his own. Their hands are raised, not in fear, but in adoration. At the top of the throne sits Shredder. His armor is gold and purple. His blades drip light. A galaxy swirls behind him, full of hives and shrines, all bearing his symbol instead of the aquila. "You see," a voice whispers, "it is not male or female. It is whoever you most want to hear. This is what you are owed. No more petty turtles, no more small minds, only a universe that knows your name." He feels the rush of it, the sense of rightness. This is what he trained for. This is why he endured pain and betrayal. "This is a lie," another part of him says. "Too easy, too clean." He staggers. A hand clamps his shoulder. "Stay with us." Solon's real voice booms inside his helm. It cuts through the vision like a steel bar through glass. "Fight the enemy in front of you." The throne room image cracks. The real dome fades back in. The Siren Node looms ahead, bigger than the hollow showed. Its horns glow. Its flesh faces all turn toward them, eyes opening in rows. Workers around it sway faster. Around its base stand Azrakar's chosen. Chaos Space Marines in armor of polished ivory and flayed skin, trimmed in riotous colors. Some wear helmets shaped like screaming masks. Others go bareheaded, their faces perfect and cruel. Weapons hang from them like jewelry. At their center stands Lord Azrakar the Flensed. He is taller than the others. His armor is a masterpiece of horror. Skin flaps hang from his pauldrons, nailed with tiny emeralds. His chest plate shows a relief of hundreds of mouths screaming. His helmet is a smooth mirror, reflecting the world in warped curves. In his hand, he holds a blade that hurts to look at. Its edge is thin as a thought. Souls seem to flicker inside it, faces pressing against the metal, mouths open in silent cries. When it moves, it leaves a faint trail of violet light. Azrakar takes a step forward. The Siren Node song dips, then rises to rap his words. "Welcome," he says. His voice is silk over knives. "New monster, new toy." His mirrored helmet turns toward Shredder. "You fell from the sky," he says. "You dared to cut my choir. You kill with art. You rule with fear. The Dark Prince finds you. Intriguing. Bolters roar." Solan's Marines open up, not interested in talk. Explosive rounds crash into Azrakar's guard. 2 Chaos Marines explode in showers of flesh and armor. Others stagger as limbs are blown off. The song shields them. Flesh flows differently. Some wounds close. Some warriors laugh as their arms fall and new ones sprout. Azrakar himself moves like water. He glides sideways, turning, letting the shots miss or hit only non-vital spots. His mirror helm never breaks line with Shredder. Shredder charges. He does not wait for permission. This is the duel he came for. He darts ahead of Solan's line, ignoring shouted warnings. His claws are up. His mind is a narrow corridor. He focuses only on the gleam of that soul-eating blade. The Siren Node tries to wrap him again. It shows him a vision of himself standing over Solan's broken form, Marines kneeling. It whispers that he could take this warband, kill Azrakar, and then turn on the Imperium, and the galaxy would sing his name. He snarls and pushes through. He meets Azrakar in the space between the front cult circle and the engine. Their blades clash. The impact rings in both their bones. Sparks and stray soul light fly. Shredder feels his claws skitter along a surface that is not quite metal. The soul blade slides past his guard and grazes his side. Pain is different. It is not the sharp burn of a cut. It is a cold pull. For a moment, he feels something inside him tear loose. Not blood. Memories. He sees himself as a boy, failing in training, his master shaking his head. He sees his first real kill. He sees Karai laughing in a dojo. All of them tug toward the blade, wanting to escape, to rest. He grits his teeth and twists away. The cut on his side is shallow. Armor took most of it, but his breath is short. He feels weaker than he should from such a small wound. Azrakar laughs. "Ah," the Chaos Lord says, "you feel it. My blade drinks the story of you. Every time it tastes you, more of yourself comes with it. How many cuts before you forget why you fight at all?" Shredder lunges. He goes for Azrakar's legs, aiming to break the champion's stance. Azrakar slides aside. The soul blade flickers. It touches Shredder's left forearm. His hand opens without his consent. His claws fall, clattering to the floor. He stares at his useless fingers. The armor is not badly damaged. The flesh beneath is not mangled. But the part of his mind that tells his hand to close seems blurred. The node's song swells, tasting his weakness. See, it whispers, he unbuilds you. Let go. You could step out of this pain. Let us hold you. Let us promise that you will never fail again. Shredder steps back. His vision doubles for a second. Behind Azrakar, the Siren Node's horns rotate. Now they point at him more directly. The workers around it twist, their bodies arching, mouths opening wider. They are feeding the engine's focus. Bolter fire slams into Azrakar's flank. One round cracks a pauldron. Another blows a chunk from his thigh armor. He staggers, but only a little. He turns his head towards Solan's line. "Not now," he says. "You will have your turn, little angels. This first dance is his." He gestures with the soul blade. The Siren Node answers. A wave of sound hits the Sable Wardens. It is not just pressure. It is emotion. Joy, lust, sorrow, pride, all tangled. One Marine throws his helmet off and laughs, eyes wild. He swings his bolter up, not at Azrakar, but at his own squad. Solan slams into him before he can fire, knocking him down. Other Marines grab him, pin him, shout litanies into his face. Their line wavers. Shredder sees it out of the corner of his eye. If they break, he thinks, the guard lines will fold. The node will flood this hive. He has a choice. He can keep trying to duel Azrakar head on, with a body that is already less than whole. Pride demands that he do so. To retreat feels like failure. Or he can change the field. He looks past Azrakar, at the Siren Node. It towers over them both. It is the real heart of this battle. As long as it sings, Azrakar has more than his own strength. He has a god's hand at his back. Shredder's ethic motto has always been simple. Strength must be directed. Sometimes that means not at the enemy's sword, but at the arm that lifts it. He feints left, then throws himself toward the node. Azrakar slashes for his back. The soul blade slices his right shoulder. Again, that cold pull. More memories tear free. He almost forgets Splinter's face. He almost forgets why he hates the turtles. He uses the pain as a push. He crashes into the nearest line of chanting workers. He does not kill them. His claws are gone from one hand and numb in the other. He uses his body instead. He shoulder checks one, kicks another aside, pulls a third behind him as a shield against a stray sonic blast. "Down," he roars, forcing his voice over the song. "If you want to live, down." Some obey on instinct. He does not care if they understand. He needs the space clear. He dives under a swinging horn and jams his numb right arm into a nest of cables at the node's base. He cannot feel his fingers, but he knows how to break machines. He knots his muscles and twists. Cables snap. Flesh strings tear. The node screams, not in sound, in feeling. For a heartbeat, everyone in the dome feels like they have lost their favorite thing. Azrakar staggers. Marines on both sides gasp. Workers collapse, sobbing. The node's song drops a note. Ferris seizes the opening. "Now!" the tech priest shrieks in Binaric and Low Gothic. "Play the countercant." His mechadendrites slam a device into the ground. It blossoms into a tower of ugly metal and vox grills. It vomits static and machine code, a harsh anti-melody that scrapes the inside of your skull. The two songs clash. The air shakes. Stone dust falls from the dome roof. A few workers' heads literally explode from the pressure. Shredder uses the chaos. He reaches deeper into the node's guts. Warp light bites his arm up to the elbow. Teeth made of sound gnaw on his nerves. He feels his pride, his ambition, his image of himself as a future ruler, all being examined by a vast, hungry will. It offers him a deal. Images slam, into his mind, faster than thought. He sees himself standing not with Azrakar, but above him. The Siren Node rebuilt into a giant Krang-like core that answers to him alone. Hive Gethsemar remade as a Foot clan fortress. The Imperium on its knees, begging for his help against chaos, and him saying yes or no as it pleases him. "Let us make this real," the Node whispers, voice of the Dark Prince behind it. "You hate waste. We hate boredom. Together, we can shape the galaxy into a perfect game. You get your order. We get our show." All it wants is one thing. "Kneel," it says, "just once, in your heart. Admit that you belong on the throne, no matter whose symbol sits behind you. Admit that you and the Dark Prince want the same thing, adoration." Shredder trembles. It is tempting, not because of pleasure, because it sounds efficient. With a god's power at his back, he could end small rebellions with a thought. He could make people enjoy their chains. No more turtles, no more questions. "Say yes," the voice breathes, "and you will never lose again." His numb fingers brush something inside the node. A core, a knot of reality where the warp bleeds into metal fully. If he pierces it, he knows the node will be crippled, maybe killed. But the backlash will be brutal. On him, on everyone nearby. "Refuse," another part of him says, "not because of their emperor, because no one shares your throne, not even a god." He grits his teeth. "My order is mine," he answers, in thought and out loud. "I will not share it with any prince, dark or light. I will take my power with my own hands. I kneel to no one." He curls his numb arm and jams his forearm blades, half feeling, into the core knot. He screams. The node screams. The world screams. Light goes white. The Siren Node implodes. The collapse is not neat. Waves of sound blast outward, shredding flesh and stone. Horns explode into shrapnel. Flesh sheets tear and fall in rust-colored rain. Everyone in the dome falls. Shredder's armor takes the brunt, but the soul burn goes deeper. He feels chunks of his memory rip loose and burn. Faces vanish, names blur. He knows he came from another world, but for a moment he cannot recall its streets, only its fighting. Solon's marines are thrown back. Some slam into walls hard enough to dent ceramite. Guardsmen die where they stand, eyes bleeding. Azrakar staggers and drops to one knee. His link to the node, to the god channel, is ripped. He feels it like a lover's hand torn from his own. Rage floods him. He rises with a howl and charges Shredder. Shredder is on his knees, gasping. His right arm hangs useless. His left claw is cracked. His vision is a tunnel with black at the edges. Azrakar's soul blade comes down. Shredder lifts his left arm on reflex. The blade bites through his gauntlet and into flesh. It does not cut the arm off. It does something worse. It drinks. Memories, instincts, training. Whole chunks of his life pour into the sword. He feels his first kill vanish. He feels the exact moment he decided to become the Shredder fade. For a heartbeat, he does not know who he is without the title. He jerks back with a roar. The blade tears free, dripping something that is not blood. Azrakar laughs, voice cracked with fury and joy. "Yes," he cries, "you taste exquisite. In one more stroke I will carve you down to nothing. A perfect empty shell for my prince to wear." He raises the blade again. A bolter round hits him in the side of the helmet. It does not kill him. It knocks his head sideways and ruins the mirror plate. Cracks spider across it. A second round slams into his chest. A third blows out a knee. Solon charges. He has lost men. His armor is scored and dented, but his eyes burn with something harder than pain. He slams into Azrakar like a battering ram. The soul blade skids off his pauldron, leaving a faint ghost mark. Solan's chainsword roars. He drives it into Azrakar's side, teeth biting into the Chaos Lord's twisted ribs. "By the Emperor," Solan snarls, "you will not take this one." Shredder staggers to his feet. He sways. He is missing pieces of himself. But one thing remains clear. He will not be one man's weapon and another's empty skin. He grabs his fallen claw with his left hand and hurls it. The spinning blades arc through the air like a sharp comet. They slam into Azrakar's exposed neck joint, where Solan has opened a crack, metal and flesh part. Azrakar's laugh turns into a gasp. The soul blade flickers. Shredder staggers forward and with the last of his strength, drives a knee into the Chaos Lord's chest. Solan shoves from the other side. Between them, they topple Azrakar. The Chaos Lord falls to the shattered floor of his engine's grave. For a moment, everyone is still. Even the warp seems to hold its breath. Azrakar lies there, armor broken, soul blade dim. Then his helmet tilts. The cracked mirror catches Shredder's face. "You think this is victory?" he rasps. "No, this is a gift. My prince has tasted you. He knows your shape. You cannot run. Every time you crave control, you will hear him. Every time you kill, you will feel his hand." He lifts the soul blade in a slow, weak motion and presses it to his own chest. "Remember me," he whispers. He pushes the blade in. The sword drinks him. Light flares. Warp fire bursts from the wound. Azrakar's body collapses inward. His soul, his story, his rage, all pour into the blade, which vanishes with a sharp crack. Only a burned outline of his armor remains on the floor. Codex note: Soulbind blades of Slaaneshi. Champions can harvest both enemy and wielder essence. Self-offering at death forges a lingering psychic link to any mind that has tasted their edge. In the silence after, Shredder hears it. A faint laugh, not in his ears, in the hole where his memories used to sit. He staggers and almost falls. Solan grabs his arm, steadying him. "Easy," the Space Marine says. "The node is dead. Azrakar's body is gone. We have broken their core." Shredder shakes his head. "No," he says. His voice is rough. "We have changed it. The war is not over. It has simply moved into me." He does not say how much is missing. He does not say that he cannot remember the faces of his old enemies clearly. Only their shapes. Only the feeling of them defying him. He does not say that part of him feels lighter for losing those memories, and that this scares him more than pain. Varro's voice crackles in his helm. "Report," she demands. "Status of the node, status of Shredder, status of Azrakar." Solan looks around. The Siren Node is a collapsed heap of dead matter. Its horns lie broken. Workers lie scattered, some dead, some moaning. The Siren's song is gone. Only the ugly static of Ferris's counter tower remains, already fading. "Node destroyed," Solan says. "Azrakar, self-immolated through his blade. Threat removed. Shredder is alive but wounded." Varro is silent for a moment. "Casualties." Hale's voice joins, tight. "High," Solan says. "Guard losses above 50% in the dome. 2 Astartes dead. 3 badly shaken but standing. Tech Priest Ferris intact. Praise the Omnissiah. Civilian casualties, hard to count. Many were already half lost." Shredder sinks to one knee. His right arm is dead. His left hand shakes. The little Aquila charm at his neck is cracked down the middle. He plucks it off and stares at it. "For all your wards," he thinks, "I'm still marked, not by your god, by the enemies." A flicker of gold crosses his vision. He looks up. Through the dust and smoke, he sees a broken shrine on the dome wall. Once, It held a statue of the Emperor painted in simple colours. The blast has shattered most of it. Only the face remains. It should be in stone. It is. For a heartbeat, it is also not. The eyes seem to glow brighter than they should, not in sick warp hues, in steady gold. The mouth is calm. The gaze is heavy, not cruel. Shredder feels it on him. It is not words. It is more like a weight on a scale, a sense of being measured. He thinks the presence will be angry. He has killed many of this god's servants. He has insulted this god's name. He has pieces of a rival god inside him now. But the feeling that comes is not rage. It is choice. He sees, in a flash, 3 paths. In one, he turns away from these people, uses the whole Azrakar left in his soul to slip back toward his old ways. He builds a cult within the Imperium, his own, under the nose of this vast religion. He uses the Dark Prince's whispers for his own gain. The galaxy burns in brighter, stranger colours. In another, he breaks fully. He sees himself leading a band of mixed marines and mutants, free from both Emperor and Chaos, carving out a little empire in the cracks. Free, but always hunted. Never sure if he is spreading order or just a different storm. In the last, he sees himself kneeling, not in worship, but in agreement, to this golden figure on the broken statue's pedestal. He sees himself as a chained blade, on a leash made of law and sacrifice. He sees himself killing worse monsters in the Emperor's name, and feeling every death he causes. The vision passes. He is back in the dome, kneeling in rubble, staring at a broken stone face. Solon follows his gaze. He sees only a damaged icon. The Emperor watches, the Space Marine says softly. Even here, even through stone dust. Shredder does not answer, but the simple, calm weight of that earlier gaze sits in his mind beside the hungry whispers of the Dark Prince. 2 judges, one open, one sly. He hates being judged. He also understands that he is no longer only his own problem. Later, in the Medici bays, the corruption lingers. Shredder lies on a metal bed, armor cut away from his right arm and side. Medici servitors attend him with metal hands and sterile tools. They seal wounds, inject pain blockers, and spray his nerves with calming chem. They cannot fix the missing memories. Varro stands at the foot of the bed, arms folded. Solon stands beside her. Hale watches from a distance, face drawn. Ferrus hovers with scanners. So, Varro says at last, you destroyed the Siren Node. You helped bring down Azrakar, but you let his blade drink deep. Shredder glares at her. I did not let it, he says. I took wounds to reach the core. I refused their offer. I could have knelt. I did not. Varro nods slowly. Yes, she says. And that matters. You refused a tailored temptation. That tells me something about your line in the sand. She taps his chart. But the price is real, she says. Ferrus. Ferrus flicks a mechadendrite toward a display. We detect psychic scarring along his neural pathways, the tech priest says. Patterns match exposure to Slaaneshi mimetic tools. There is a resonance tied to the signature Azrakar carried. It may echo in his dreams. It may whisper at weak moments. Can it be removed? Hale asks. Ferrus twitches. Not without destroying core personality traits, he says. Such blades cut identity. What has been taken cannot be given back. What remains is altered. We can lay wards, but not undo. Solon frowns. So he carries a shard of Azrakar with him, the Marine says, and maybe a connection to the Dark Prince. Yes, Varro says. He is both weapon and wound now. The heresy we fought out there, we must now fight in here. She points at Shredder's temple. Shredder laughs without humor. You talk as if my mind is your battlefield, he says. You forget that I am still the primary fighter in it. We do not forget, Varro says. But we must recognize that you are now a vector as well as a shield. You stood in the Siren Node's core. You cannot walk free without leaving some of it behind you wherever you go. She looks at Hale and Solon. We cannot keep him on Sanctis Ferrum, she says. Not without stronger wards and deeper judgments than we can provide. Hale grimaces. You want to send him away? After he saved our plant and broke the node? He asks. We still have cults in the lower hives. We still have Chaos Marines on the surface. Yes, Varro says. And if he slips, if Azrakar's whisper gains ground inside him, he could undo everything in hours. We need someone who can read his soul more clearly than any of us. Solon nods slowly. There is only one place where that is possible, he says. Only one throne that can weigh such a case. Shredder looks between them. Where? He asks. Varro meets his gaze. Terra, she says. Holy Terra, the throne world, seat of the Emperor and his high lords, the beating heart of the Imperium. She steps closer. The supreme authority I serve has given men like you chances before, she says. Sometimes they become saints. Sometimes they become monsters that must be put down. Either way, their judgment belongs there. Shredder snorts. You want to drag me across the stars to put me in front of your corpse god? He asks. Yes, she says simply. And in front of those who speak for him now. You have proven that you can harm chaos. You have also proven that chaos has its hooks in you. We must know which side is winning. Hale shakes his head. You'll leave us with only the Sable Wardens and the Guard, he says, when the war is not yet done. Solon puts a heavy hand on his shoulder. Governor, he says, the immediate threat is blunted. The node is gone. Azrakar is dead. The remaining warband is leaderless and confused. They will still fight, but their center is broken. He glances at Shredder. This is the moment to move him, he says, before the whispers settle deeper, before a new Chaos Champion comes to claim him. Varro nods. Command from the Ordo aligns, she says. I have already sent astropathic request. A ship with the right wards and crew will divert to take us to Terra. The Emperor's will is clear enough. Shredder lies back. The thought of another portal, another tear through space, makes his burned nerves twitch. But he knows this will not be like the Crancor's wild jumps. This will be slow, heavy, bound in rituals. He also knows something else. If he refuses, they will try to kill him. He is weak now, wounded. He might take some of them with him, but in the end, endless guns and faith would win. Terra, he says softly, the heart of this empire, a throne bigger than any I have seen. The whispers in the whole Azrakar carved perk up. Yes, they hiss. Imagine claiming that. Imagine wearing their faith like armor. Imagine ripping the corpse from the throne and sitting there yourself. The memory of the gold gaze from the broken statue brushes those whispers aside for a moment. He frowns. I will go, he says at last. Not to kneel, to see, to judge you as you judge me. Varro looks almost amused. Fair enough, she says, but understand this. On Terra, the scale is not yours. You will be weighed against saints and traitors who have burned galaxies. Do not expect your deeds here to look as large there. I have walked into other worlds and made my name, Shredder says. Your throne world will be no different. Solon smiles faintly. I look forward to seeing you say that inside the palace, he says, if they let you get that far. Varro turns to Ferrus. Begin preparations, she says. We need a ship, a null cage, and a fellowship of souls strong enough to stand near him without breaking. Great things move when we ferry such cargo. Ferrus clicks. Understood, he says. I will prepare the machine spirits. They will not like his presence, but they will obey. As they leave, the preacher enters. He walks slowly to Shredder's bed, holding a small, simple icon of the Aquila. I heard what you did, he says softly. In the Node. How you refused. How you broke the song. Shredder does not meet his eyes. I did the logical thing, he says. I did not share power with a liar. The preacher nods. Maybe, he says. Or maybe, for a moment, you wanted something more than power. Maybe you wanted to be the one who chose, not the one chosen by a god. That is close to faith. He sets the little icon on the bed. Take this, he says. Not because you believe, because you will walk among those who can tear your soul apart if they wish. Even a small shield can help. Shredder stares at the icon. It is plain, no jewels, no warp flare. He thinks of the cracked ward at his neck. He thinks of the gold gaze in the dome. He picks the icon up and closes his left hand around it. My faith is in myself, he says. Good, the preacher replies. The Emperor likes strong tools. Just remember that even the strongest sword is held by someone. He turns and walks away. Shredder lies in the Medici light, holding a symbol of a god he does not serve, listening to whispers from a god he refused, and feeling a third silent judge weighing him. Up to now, he has fought cults and engines, killed a Chaos Lord, and taken a soul wound that binds him to his enemy. Now, he must leave this burning hive and face the heart of the Imperium itself. The ship that carries them to Terra is called the Vigilant Mercy. It is an old inquisitorial cruiser. Its hull is black and scarred. Holy sigils cover its armor in long, careful lines. Macro cannons line its flanks like teeth. Inside it smells of oil, incense, and old fear. Shredder walks its main spine corridor in chains. The chains are not for show. They are heavy adamantine links, locked to a harness that feeds into the walls. Servo skulls float around him, weapons built into their jawbones. 2 sable wardens walks, ahead, 2 behind. Inquisitor Varro moves at his side. Your pride must hate this, she says quietly. It hates weakness more, he answers. I am wounded. I am marked. Until I can fight at full strength, I accept armor, even if that armor looks like chains. That's one way to see it, she says. They pass a chapel. The door is open. Inside, guardsmen kneel. A ship's confessor speaks from a small pulpit. His voice is hoarse. We go to the throne world, he says. We go to the place where our emperor sits in deathless life. Remember why. Not for glory, not for your names in some book. We go so that humanity breathes another day. He gestures to a wall covered in names. Cost, he says. Remember the cost. Shredder stops at the doorway. He sees men and women with bandaged heads, a space marine with one arm, a tech priest with half his face melted. All of them bow their heads to the same symbol. Varro watches him. You wanted to see the cost behind our dogma, she said. Look, it is not just burned witches. It is also these. Yet you still throw them at wars they can't win, Shredder says. We throw them at wars we cannot afford to lose, she replies. That is different. Is it? He asks. She sighs and gestures down the hall. Come, she says. There is something else you should see. The Medici Bay hums with machines. Here, the worst wounded from Sanctis Ferrum lie on cots, limbs grown back by crude vat, eyes replaced with augmetics. Some are silent. Some mutter half prayers, half screams. A small boy sits by a cot, holding an old guardsman's hand. The man's legs end in clean stumps. His chest bears the marks of the Siren Node song. Grandfather, the boy whispers, will you come home? The old man smiles weakly. If the Emperor wills, he says. Shredder watches them. You will probably send that boy to war, he says. Varro nods once. If he lives long enough, she says. Yes. Knowing what this did to his family, Shredder says, you still feed him into the same machine. Because there is no safe place to stand, she says. Not in this age, not in this galaxy, not for long. If we do nothing, chaos comes anyway. At least this way, we meet it with a gun in our hands. He looks at her. You call that faith, he says. I call that a failure to build something better. And what would you build, she asks, in a galaxy where thoughts can turn into monsters? He thinks of the Siren Node, the way it spoke inside his mind. A harder people, he says, taught to see lies, taught to sharpen their own will, not just told to obey or burn. Varro's gaze softens just a little. Then maybe our goals are not so far apart, she says. We also try to harden souls. We just do it with fear and dogma, because we do not trust ourselves to go softer. She leans closer. You stand between those two ideas, she says. Your code says strength must be directed. Our law says strength must be bound. Which of us is right? That is what Terra will decide. He looks down at his bandaged arm. And what about the cost to me? He asks. Azrakar's echo. The hole in my mind. Do they weigh that too? Yes, she says. They measure everything. They are cruel accountants. For a moment, they walk in silence. Then Varro says, I will tell you one thing as something close to a mentor Shredder. If Terra decides to break you, it will hurt. But if they choose to use you, it will hurt more. The Emperor's service does not heal pride. It cuts it and leaves it alive. He smiles behind his mask. Then we will see whose blade is sharper, he says. The vigilant mercy enters the warp. Outside, reality folds. Colors that do not exist in normal space slide across the hull. The Geller field, the ship's soul shield, flares in golden lines. Inside, the air goes tight for a heartbeat, then settles. In the astropath choir pit, psychers scream and then fall silent. The Astronomicon, the Emperor's psychic beacon, pulls the ship toward Terra like a nail to a magnet. For 3 days, they travel in that between place. Shredder sits in a reinforced cell with scripture etched into its walls. His chains are anchored to the floor. Null wards glow faintly. The little Aquila icon lies on the table before him. Sometimes he closes his eyes and tries to remember his old world. He sees blades, smoke, green masks, but faces are smeared like paint in the rain. Azrakar's laughter curls around the gaps. You are lighter now, the dead lord whispers from nowhere. Is it not pleasant? Less weight, less doubt. Let me take the rest. You could be nothing but will. No pain tied to names, only command. Shredder grips the icon harder. Get out, he says. The walls do not answer. On the 4th day, the Geller field flickers. It is only for a moment, a blink, but every light on the ship dims. Every prayer stops. Every machine spirit shivers. In that breath, something steps through. It enters not through the hull, but through Shredder. A shape peels itself from his shadow on the cell wall. It rises, unfolding like a cut-out puppet gaining depth. It wears armor that looks like his, but smoother, sharper, colored in soft gold and rich purple. Its mask is his mask, but smiling. Its blades shine like polished mirrors. Hello, it says. Its voice is his voice, warmer. We finally have some privacy. Shredder stands. The chains clank. Wards hum. The thing moves around them as if they are smoke. What are you? He asks. I am what you could be if you stop fighting yourself, it says. I am order without guilt, control without doubt. I am every part of you the Dark Prince liked, polished. It walks around him, eyes bright behind the steel. You build rule on fear, it says. I build it on joy. You force people to obey. I make them want to. You push them down. I lift them up and let them kneel. Which do you think holds longer? Shredder feels the pull. He sees, for a heartbeat, a city where his symbol hangs from every wall. People laugh in clean streets. They work hard because work feels good. They cheer when he passes. Their love is a drug, and he is always high. Better than your grim little Imperium, the mirror foe says. Better than a galaxy of flayed shrines. Admit it. My way is smarter. You are still a slave, Shredder says. You just like your chain. You are already chained, it replies. To a ghost on a throne who never spoke to you. To laws you did not write. To guilt for memories you do not even have anymore. Why not pick a master who makes you feel good? The cell door slams open. Captain Solon stands there, eyes bright, armor humming. Behind him, the air ripples. The corridor walls look thin, as if the warp is pressing close. Warp incursion, he shouts. Geller field breach localized to Shredder's cell. He sees the mirror shredder and lifts his bolter. The mirror foe laughs. See, it says. They hate you for what you might be. I love you for it. It reaches out. A finger of gold and purple light touches Shredder's chest. He feels something stir. The part of him that enjoyed command. The part that liked hearing people shout his name in fear. That part leans toward this stranger like a plant toward the sun. For a second, he almost smiles. Then he remembers the medic bay. The boy at the old man's bed. The worker clutching the medica's hand. The faces of those who never chose this war. If I take your path, he thinks, I will make them love their chains. They will never even know they were slaves. He pulls back. No, he says. You are not smarter. You are just more cruel. He twists his body and slams his shoulder into the mirror foe. Their armor clashes. Where they touch, sparks of warp fire fly. The chains on Shredder's harness crack. The wards on the walls flare. Solon fires. Bolter shells rip through the mirror foe's side. Its flesh bleeds light, not blood. It staggers, but laughs. You cannot kill a possibility, it says. I am what you might choose. The ship lurches. Somewhere the astropaths scream in one voice. A blinding gold flash cuts through the cell, brighter than any lamp. It passes through the mirror foe like a spear. For a heartbeat, Shredder sees something behind the gold. A throne of wires and bone. A still body. A mind stretched across the sky. A will that does not beg. It simply is. The mirror foe shrieks. Its smooth mask cracks. Underneath, he sees Azrakar's twisted grin, then his own younger face, then nothing at all. The thing bursts into sparks and is gone. In Shredder's mind, a clear command rings like a bell. Reach the throne. It is not words spoken aloud. It is more like a direction pressed into his bones. A push. He staggers. The chains pull tight again. The Geller field roars back to full power. The walls thicken. The warp outside falls back like a tide. Solon lowers his bolter slowly. Did you hear it? Shredder asks. The Emperor's light, Solon says. Yes. A spike through the warp. A warning. A summons. Shredder looks at the spot where his mirror self stood. Mirror foe, he thinks. Built from my pride, wearing my hopes. It will be back if I let it. Every time I think of easy worship, I will feel its hand. Codex note. Warp echoes can manifest as mirror fiends, constructs built from a champion's stolen memories. They cannot be fully slain by bullets, only starved by choices. Varro arrives a moment later, breath sharp, rosary in one hand, pistol in the other. "What happened?" she demands. "Your supreme authority sent a message," Shredder says. "He does not want me to answer anyone else's call until I stand in front of him." Varro exhales slowly. "Good," she says. "Then our course is set. No more detours, no more tests in the dark. We get you to Terra. After that, we see." Terra fills the viewport like a crown of rock and light. The vigilant mercy drops from the warp into the Sol system. At once, a dozen Vox channels demand codes. Defense platforms swing their guns. Battle fleets drift in strict lines, ready to fire at anything wrong. Ferris feeds coded prayers into the machine spirits. Varro shows seals. Solon stands silent, hand on his chest in a salute only the Astartes understand. Slowly, the guns turn away. They pass Mars, a red world wrapped in forges and shipyards. Tech priests chant over its surface. Even from here, Shredder feels the heat of its work. Then Terra. From space, it is more city than planet. Continental hives, ocean platforms, and orbital rings surround it. The night side glows with endless lights. The day side is mostly gold and white, where the palace spreads over an entire landmass. Thunderhawk gunships and troop carriers escort them down. Flyers mark the sky like insects around a flame. Inside his transport, Shredder sits between two black-robed Sisters of Silence. They are blanks, nulls. Their very presence smothers warp whispers. Near them, the whole Azrakar left feels quiet. The Dark Prince's laughter cannot reach. It is not a warm feeling. It is like standing in a room with no air, but it is clean. One sister looks at him. Her eyes are flat, but not hateful, just empty of awe. "You hear nothing," he says. She says nothing back. She has no voice in the warp. That is her power. The transport breaks through the clouds. The Imperial Palace rises before them. It is not a single building. It is a mountain of stone and adamantium that covers miles, studded with towers, walls, and guns. Statues the size of hives stand guard. Bridges span gulfs that could swallow cities. Closer, he sees cathedrals stacked on cathedrals, each full of chanting pilgrims. He sees armies drilling on parade grounds. He sees lines of petitioners stretching for days. The transport lands in a walled court of polished stone. Golden figures wait there. The Adeptus Custodes, the Emperor's personal guard, stand at the base of a wide stair. Their armor is brighter than Solon's. Their weapons hum with a soft, deadly sound. They look at Shredder as one might look at a new beast in a cage. Behind them stand more Sisters of Silence, hoods up, blades at their sides. Behind those, robed adepts and inquisitors whisper and take notes. Varro steps out first, her authority seals blazing on her chest. "By mandate of the Ordo Hereticus," she says, voice ringing in the court, "I bring before the throne an anomalous war form, designated Oroku Saki, called Shredder. He has slain a champion of Slaanesh, destroyed a Siren Node, and now carries soul taint as a result. His case demands the Emperor's sight." A tall custodian steps forward. His face is ancient and young at once. His eyes are sharp. "You presume much," he says. "To bring warp-marked things into the palace." Varro bows her head. "I presume only that the Emperor wishes to see weapons that can harm his foes," she says, "and the wounds those weapons carry." The custodian studies Shredder. "You feel like a broken cord," he says. "Half loyalty, half hunger. It is not pleasant." "Then kill me," Shredder says, "or let me climb your stairs. Standing here between choices is dull." A few adepts gasp. The custodian does not. "You speak boldly," he says. "I have heard worse from Primarchs." He gestures up the stair. "Very well," he says. "You will be taken to the inner halls. You will not see the throne with your eyes. Few do. But the master of mankind may still choose to look through you." The sisters grip Shredder's chains. The custodians form a ring. They climb. The inner halls of the palace are like walking through a living history. Walls are carved with battles from 10,000 years of war. Scenes flicker with hidden hollows that move when you stare too long. Statues of heroes and traitors stand side by side, each labeled with simple words: name, deed, price. In one hall, Shredder walks past a mural of Horus, the war master who betrayed Terra. In another, he sees Saint Celestine, a woman in armor with wings of light, facing a demon horde. All of them ended in blood. At last, they reach a quiet place, a long, dim chamber with no murals. Only a single line of seats along one wall, raised above the floor. Hooded figures sit there, the High Lords of Terra or their agents. It is hard to tell which. At the far end, a great door stands closed. It is not decorated, only sealed with a single simple symbol, an aquila carved so deep it looks like a wound in the metal. The custodian stops. "This is as far as flesh walks today," he says. "The rest is above." Sisters push Shredder to the center of the floor. Varro stands nearby. Solon is allowed to stand, behind like a tree in armor. Hale is not here. This is beyond governors. A hooded psyker steps down from the seats. Her eyes glow faintly. Gold light dances on her brow. "When the Emperor speaks here," she says softly, "he does so through those who can bear it. You will not hear a voice. You will feel a weight. Answer, but do not lie. No one lies here for long." Shredder straightens as much as the chains allow. "I have spent my life bending truth," he says. "Let us see how your throne bends me." The psyker touches his forehead. The world falls away. He stands in a field of stars. No ship, no palace, only countless points of light around him. Some burn bright, some flicker, some are dark and cold. Each star is a world. As he looks, some of them flare and go out. Tiny ripples move through the dark where they were, like drops in an endless sea. He knows, without being told, that those were planets destroyed. By chaos, by Xenius, by the Imperium itself. A presence stands behind him. He does not turn. He does not see a face. There is no need. The weight tells him enough. This is the mind that holds the Astronomicon. This is the hand on 1,000,000 swords. This is the one who has sat on the golden throne for 10,000 years, not moving and yet never resting. The presence shows him 3 images. In the first, he sees himself leaving Terra with a repaired Krang-like device, given back or rebuilt. He steps through a portal into a version of his old world. He fights old enemies with new scars. The war continues. In this galaxy, he is gone. The stars burn on without him. In the second, he sees himself walking alone among the stars of this universe. No Inquisitor, no chapter badge, just his own banner. He takes worlds at the edge, builds a small empire. People there live better than most in the Imperium. But they fear both him and the day the Imperium or Chaos finally finds them. His rule is a bright knife in the dark, always at risk of breaking. In the third, he sees himself in black and gold armor, marked with both Aquila and his own claw symbol. He leads squads of mixed warriors, guardsmen, sisters, even a few Astartes, into hell zones where no normal unit lasts. He cuts down cults and monsters. He also cuts down Imperial officers who would waste lives for pride. Some cheer him, some curse him. His name becomes a warning and a promise. Between these images, the stars keep going out. The presence presses one clear idea into him. Victory is not a clean win where all enemies fall and peace reigns. Not here. In this age, victory is a slope, a question. How many more human lives climb up it before the dark eats them? He feels the Emperor's logic. If you leave, the weight says without words, others will fight and many will die. If you run free, you will save some and doom others when your little kingdom burns. If you serve under chain, painfully, you may hold the line in places where no one else can. None of these paths are gentle. Pick the one whose price you can live with. He wants to argue. He wants to say, you built this system. You chose this endless war. Why should I bleed for your failure? The presence answers by showing him one last vision, a galaxy where the Emperor never rose, where Horus or the warp gods rule instead. In it, there is no throne, no tired empire, only screaming worlds that burn faster. Humanity is food and toy, everywhere, always. There is no room for even a small tyrant like him, no space to build anything. In that vision, he dies early, not in glory, not in debate, just swallowed by a tide of teeth. The stars around him flicker back to their first pattern. The weight pulls away, just a little. He's back in his body, on the stone floor, breathing hard. The Psyker pulls her hand away. Smoke rises from her fingertips. A Sister of Silence steps up to steady her. On the raised seats, the hooded figures murmur. Varro steps forward. Well, she asks softly, did you see enough? Shredder looks up at the simple wounded Aquila on the far door. He does not share the details. Those are his. But his eyes have changed. There is still sharpness there. Pride. But there is also a new kind of calculation. Not how do I win, but how long can I hold this line before it breaks, and who stands behind me when I fall? He says only, your Emperor does not beg. He shows you the board and waits for your move. Varro almost smiles. That sounds like him, she says. From now on, Shredder understands 3 limits. First, every time he taps into the echo Azrakar left, the part of him that can sense Slaaneshi tricks and cut them, he loses a little more of his old self. Memories will fade faster and his pride will grow thinner, more focused. Second, the Emperor's gaze has marked him. If he uses chaos tools for selfish gain, not survival of the many, that mark will burn. He will feel real physical pain, and Imperial Psykers will sense it like a flare. Hiding such acts will be almost impossible. Third, he cannot again open doors between worlds on his own. The Krang path is dead. Any crossing now must go through Imperial chains, sanctioned warp travel, inquisitorial portals, or not at all. Every jump will cost him freedom he once took for granted. Under these bounds, his strength is still terrible, but it is no longer his alone. Silence hangs in the chamber after Shredder's return from the star-filled vision. The Psyker slumps, breathing hard. The Sisters of Silence stand close, blades ready. The hooded lords watch from their high seats. Varro and Solon stand like carved stone below. Shredder stands alone on the floor, chains clinking softly. The High Lord in the center speaks. His voice is old, but clear. The Master of Mankind has weighed you, he says. He has shown you 3 paths. Speak them. Shredder lifts his head. First path, he says. I return to my old world. You repair a way or build a new one. I step through. I fight the same enemies with new scars. Your war goes on without me. He sees a few hooded heads tilt. Second path, he continues. I stay in this galaxy as my own ruler. I take some worlds at the edge. I build a small empire. People there live better than most. But the Imperium and Chaos both hunt me. One day, they find me and burn everything I built. He pauses, tasting the third path before he speaks it. Third, he says, I serve under your law. As a chain blade, I keep my name. I keep my armor. But I act where you point. I kill your worst enemies. I also cut down your fools when they waste lives. I become part of this war, not outside it. The gold weight of the Emperor's gaze is gone now. Only normal air and human eyes remain. The Center High Lord leans forward. And which path do you choose? He asks. Shredder looks at the far door with the deep cut Aquila. If I go home, he says, I leave billions to die here when I could have helped. That is cowardice, no matter how I dress it. He turns his head toward the side wall, where murals of past rebels and minor warlords flicker. If I rule as a free tyrant, he says, I repeat my old life on a larger board. Fear, control, a brief kingdom, then ruin. I will drag cities into my fall. I have done that before. I know how it ends. He looks down at his scarred hands. I have always said strength must be directed, he says. If I walk alone, it serves only me. If I walk under you, it might serve more. I do not like chains, but your Emperor showed me something. He closes his fist. He showed me what this galaxy looks like without him, he says. Without this ugly, heavy, cruel empire. It is worse. There is no room for even small order, only endless screaming. He lifts his head again. I choose the third path, he says. Sanctioned servant. On my terms, under your rules. I will not worship your emperor, but I will fight for the space his throne creates. I will be your weapon as long as I can live with how you swing me. Varro's shoulders loosen, just a fraction. Solon nods once, hard. The High Lord in the center speaks again. Terms, he says. You say, on your terms, state them. Shredder's voice is steady. First, he says, I keep my name. Oroku Saki, Shredder. I will not be just a number in your books. People must know who holds the blade at their throat. That makes rulers think twice. Second, he says, I will not slaughter civilians for fear alone. I will kill when needed. I will burn cults and traitors, but I will not waste lives just to make a point. If you order that, I will argue. If you insist, I will make sure your name sits beside mine in the story. A quiet ripple runs through the seats. Third, he says, I will not build my own cult. No banners that put me above the throne, but I will shape those I lead. I will teach them to see lies and resist songs like the Siren Nodes. I will make them harder, not just more afraid. He meets Varro's eyes for a moment. I will not be a saint, he says. I will be a hard teacher. Varro nods. A good saint is often a hard teacher, she answers softly. The Center High Lord turns to the others. Do we accept this? He asks. One by one, hooded figures nod or speak a single word. Aye. Yes. Accepted. When the last voice speaks, a deep thrum goes through the floor. The door with the carved Aquila glows, faintly. The symbol seems to flare, then settle. The air warms for a heartbeat, like the afterglow of a distant sun. Something burns on Shredder's chest. He looks down. His armor, patched and blackened, begins to change. It is not a full reshaping, not a magic trick. It is more like a slow, heavy stamp. Symbols appear where there were none. An Aquila, small but clear, etches itself above his heart. Beside it, his own claw-mark sigil appears, scratched and rough. They interlock, not merged, side by side, bound. At the same time, the whole Azrakar's blade left inside him flares with pain. He gasps. The shard of the Dark Prince's mark screams. It tries to wriggle free, to spread, to claim more. A wave of cold, bright pressure crushes it, not enough to erase it, enough to pin it. For the first time since the node, Shredder feels the whispers go quiet. Not gone, quiet, caged. A thin line of smoke rises from his skin under the armor. Then it is over. A custodian steps forward. In his hands is a steel tablet, heavy with purity seals and sigils. He reads, "By decree of the High Lords of Terra," he says, "and under the gaze of the Master of Mankind, Oroku Saki, called Shredder, is bound as Sanctioned Extremis Asset to the Ordo Hereticus." His eyes meet Shredder's. "Boundaries," he says. He reads on. "You will operate only under inquisitorial writ," he recites. "You will not raise personal armies that swear to you above the throne. Any warriors who follow you must swear the oath of humanity and Emperor first. You will not traffic in unsanctioned warp tools or Xenos devices for your own gain," he continues. "If such weapons are needed to break a greater foe, you will use them only under inquisitorial oversight and surrender or destroy them after. You will never again open a warp gate by your own hand. You are permitted to use your judgment to reduce needless civilian death," he says. "When an order wastes lives without gaining ground, you may argue, delay, and propose other tactics. If you must strike down an Imperial officer to prevent a greater loss, you will record why and face review." His voice does not change, but his eyes harden on the last line. "If you turn your blade on the throne itself," he says, "if you seek to make yourself a god in more than thought, you will be hunted. There will be no second hearing." He lowers the tablet. "Do you understand these bonds?" he asks. Shredder's new sigils still feel hot. "I do," he says. "Do you accept them?" the custodian asks. Shredder thinks of the three paths again. Home, small kingdom, chain. He hears the small laugh of his mirror foe, fading now. He feels the silent weight of the throne behind the door. He thinks of Sanctis Ferrum's smokestack still rising, because he chose to break a gate. "I accept," he says. Varro steps closer. "As your handler of record," she says, "I add one more rule, spoken, not carved." He raises an eye. "Speak." "You will remember that you chose this," she says. "Not because you were tricked, not because you were forced. The Emperor showed you options. You walked to this door. That means you are responsible for what you do with it." He nods once. "Agreed," he says, "and I add one rule of my own." She lifts a brow. "For you," he says, "for the Imperium. If you order me to kill for your pride instead of survival, I will remind you of this room, of these stars, of the price you claim to serve. I will not let you hide cowardice behind faith." Varro holds his gaze. Then she nods. "Deal," she says. Solan steps up, looming, chains rattling as Shredder turns. "You will fight beside Astartes again," the Space Marine says. "Under my command sometimes, under others often. Some of my brothers will never trust you. Some will try to kill you. You will need to prove yourself in every war zone." He offers his armored forearm. "As captain of the Sable Wardens," he says, "I recognize you as a blade on the same side of the line. Not a friend, not yet, but not an enemy." Shredder hesitates. Then he lifts his left arm, still scarred from the soul blade cut, and clasps Solan's. "Then let us see who kills more of your foes," he says. The chamber doors open behind them. Light from the palace hall spills in. The hearing is done. The mandate is set. Months pass. Sanctis Ferrum still stands. The Chaos War band that served Azrakar is broken. Some fled into the warp. Others are hunted in the wastes. The Hive still has cults, but fewer. The Siren Node's dome is sealed, turned into a shrine and warning. Mara, the girl from the causeway, walks past it. She is taller now. Her eyes carry faint scars from the light that fell from the sky that day. She holds a lunch pail in one hand and a cheap lace cutter in the other. She works in a small machine shop, helping fix hab vents. On the shrine wall is a new mural. It shows the Emperor as a golden figure, hand outstretched over a burning city. At his side stands a steel-masked warrior with bladed claws. The warrior's chest bears both the aquila and a claw mark. Some kneel and call the masked man a saint. Others spit and call him a monster the Inquisition uses. The preacher from the plant stands before the mural and speaks to a small crowd. He is not a saint, the preacher says. He is not a demon. He is a man in armor, a weapon. The Emperor did not send him to be loved or feared. He sent him to be used. Remember that. Mara listens. She remembers the way Shredder pointed to the access hatch and drove the trader's gun away from them. She remembers that he turned his back on them and went toward the fight. She does not know the politics. She knows that on the day the sky broke, he did not let her die. She touches the painted claw mark. "Come back if we need you," she whispers, "but do not take too much from us." On a different world, Shredder walks a battlefield under his new banner. It is not his own flag. It is a simple pole with the aquila at the top and a small iron claw below it. Troops call it the Chain Claw's sign behind his back. The ground is broken rock and ash. The enemy here is not Slaanesh, but Nurgle, the plague god. Rotting giants in rusted armor shamble through clouds of flies. The air stinks. At his side marches a mixed unit. Gethsemar rifles who volunteered to keep following him. Hardened veterans from other hives. A scarred sister of battle with a flamethrower. 2 sable wardens. A silent sister of silence, her null aura keeping warp flies at bay. Over Vox, another commander shouts at him. "Sanctioned Asset Shredder, this is General Koss. You are to firebomb Sector 9. Burn it flat. The plague will not spread if nothing lives." Shredder looks at Sector 9. It is a factory block full of coughing workers. Some are infected. Many are not. Behind it stands a small medici center, still running. He thinks of his boundaries. He presses his Vox. "Negative," he says. "We clear the infected with blades and controlled flame. We save who we can. Burning it all wastes lives and workers you may need." "You question my orders," Koss roars. "I speak for the Imperial Guard on this world. I speak for the Ordo Hereticus." Varro's cool voice cuts in from another channel. "And for Terra in this case. General, adjust your plan. Shredder's mandate allows him to prevent needless slaughter. You will support his approach or explain yourself later." There is a long, angry pause, then a grudging, "Understood," from Koss. Shredder smiles behind his mask. He signals his unit forward. They move into Sector 9, blades and fire precise. They die, some of them. They also pull coughing children out of plague pits and escort them back to clear zones. The Sister of Silence stands at the center of the worst sickness and stops it from birthing demons. Later, in a field hospital, workers whisper. "They say the Chainclaw argued with the general," one says. "They say he made them spare us. Or maybe he just wanted us as his own tools," another muttered. The first shrugs. "Maybe," she says. "If he keeps us alive, he can call us tools all he wants." Shredder hears some of this as he walks past. He does not correct them. He only notes that this tool now shapes not just fear, but hope. It is strange, dangerous, useful. Far away in the warp, something watches. It is not Azrakar. He is inside his blade, now buried deep in some demon world. But the Dark Prince is patient. His servants scan the skein of souls. They see a line of light where Shredder's mark runs through space. They taste the mix. Pride and refusal, chain and choice. A stolen toy, one whispering demon says. He should have been ours. He still might be, another replies. He has not stopped loving power. He has only changed who he kills for. In the shifting storm, a shape that looks like Shredder's mirror foe steps and fades, half-formed, thin. It is hungry, but the golden brand on Shredder's soul keeps it at a distance. For now. Back on Terra, in a quiet office off a side hall of the palace, Varro writes a report. Her quill scrapes across parchment. Subject, Oroku Saki, Shredder, she writes. Status after first deployments under extremist mandate, effective. Casualties in his fields of action are high but targeted. Civilian survival rates are above projections. Signs of Slaaneshi influence remain, but are contained. Pride intact, faith in self undimmed. She pauses, thinking. Then she adds, shows surprising concern for strategic preservation of human lives, views people as tools, but now counts living tool as more useful than dead warning. This is acceptable progress. She signs it and seals it with the inquisitorial eye. Before she files it, she adds one last quiet line. Recommendation: continue use with strict watch. Do not let Terra forget that our sharpest blades can cut the hand that holds them. In Hive Gethsemar, Mara stands on the same causeway where she once watched a man fall from the sky. The sky is dull now, no warp tear, just clouds. She carries a message slate. It shows a simple headline on the local data feed. Sanctioned Chainclaw breaks plague on far world, it reads. There is a grainy pict of a steel mask with an aquila and claw mark. Around her, people mutter. Monster. Savior. Tool. She folds the slate and looks up. I don't know what you are, she says to the empty air, but I think you are ours now, and we are yours. That's enough. She turns and walks back into the hive.